Kenya lot. Weak labour market hurts economy, and the UN alarm over Lebanon strikes. We've seen more of those happen. I would like to offer my commiserations because I do understand that Arsenal, it was going to be in the bag until literally the last minute.
We had beaten those guys.
You played defense for 40 minutes.
Imagine.
And then in the last minute,
Akaponyokes,
bwana.
Can you imagine?
It was an interesting match to watch. I felt.
Can you imagine?
I almost called you. Nearly karibu nikupigie simu.
Ungenipigia.
Karibu.
I was happy with the performance though.
You were. They played very well, I must say.
I'm okay.
The scintillating goal.
We dropped 2 points in Manchester, but it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But it was a good match, I must say. Let's look at the front page of The Nation, shall we?
Okay.
State House and Interior in 4 billion shilling secret spending.
Atake.
4 billion secret spending.
Secret.
Yani hakuna mtu anajua. Even now you don't know. State House and the Interior Ministry spent nearly 4 billion shillings outside the budget in the financial year ended June 30, with little disclosure made for the extra cash. The requests totaling 6.5 billion for national security and state functions were made on the same day, but Controller of Budget Margaret Nyakango declined to clear the full amount. So if she had agreed, they would have even spent more.
A lot more. A lot more.
Don't you think this just irks people who are asking for 5,000 shillings increment in their salary? It's very annoying, wouldn't you say? Kenyans to get free entry to game parks reserves on Saturday the 28th. So where do you want to go? Savo, Amboseli.
Can they just make it a whole week? But Nakuru, more than one place.
Where do you want to go? The Aberdares game parks.
Game parks, huh?
Masai Mara, free entry.
Masai Mara is not.
It's not a game park.
That one is not under KWS.
It's not under KWS. So sorry, you can't go to Masai Mara. But there are many other places you can go. Aberdares,
yes.
Amboseli,
yes.
Savo.
Yes.
Hata hapa Nairobi.
Yep.
Kitaka kwenda unaweza.
Yep.
Free entry.
Even here in Thika, there's that one. What's it called?
Something. 14? No.
Not 14 Falls. This is a park here. It's a national park.
You can go.
Yeah.
So, in a bid to get you to... in a bid to get you to go and see what is available, how about we drop the fees completely, go in, see, enjoy. Then you can decide, Allah, maybe next time I will go again. Now this time I will pay. Capish?
A place I actually tell people to go, Meru National Park.
I would love to go.
It's vast and it's not visited as much as the others.
There's a gentleman here who came and told us about Meru National Park, and there's quite a lot. He even told us about there's the big 5 and then there's the small 5.
The small 5.
Yes, he told us about the small 5, which only exist
at the Meru National Park. It's a place to go.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Expert flag landmines on road to 2027 election. How about we get some work done? But no, election will still be marred by poll petitions, as has been the case since the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, warn experts. Tough proposals by school principals to curb exam cheating in about 4-5 weeks. KCSE will be written. A month to the national exam, including that of the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education. Secondary school heads have recommended measures to curb cheating, such as limiting mobile phone use and shuffling invigilators. Wait a minute, what do you mean limiting mobile phone use? Can they use mobile phone? But okay. Gloves are off as Gachagua warns Ruto on impeachment plan. The political rift between President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua has taken a fresh twist, with the DP warning his boss to stop any impeachment plans against him or face the consequences of such a move. Mr. Gachagua cautioned the president to tread carefully, saying Mount Kenya people, they do what? They hate betrayers.
They don't like betrayal.
It's going to be an interesting couple of days.
Kabisa.
Yep.
I'll tell you about the Business Daily.
Please do.
Now, there's a company called Old Mutual, all right?
Yeah.
And you've heard about the Old Mutual.
Yeah.
Now, recently, there have been an issue at the board. No, not at the board, at shareholder level. Minority shareholder Tycoon Joel Kibe has gone to court and has sued the majority shareholder and saying, I'm being mistreated by these big boys. There's been issues. Now, Business Daily today is looking at where the rain started beating people like Kina Joel Kibe. How Kirubi Group exit sparked old mutual shareholder battle. The Kenyan billionaires, three of them, James Mogoye and the late Chris Kirubi and the late Joe Wanjohi, for years controlled UAP Holdings, which paid them substantial dividends from years of uninterrupted profitability. The tycoons have also reaped billions from calculated share sales that have left a bad taste in the mouth of minority investors, plagued with a dividend drought and no way out of the insurer. The contrasting fortunes of the founders and the minority owners has triggered a court fight that marks a rare occasion when an investor has sued their own company for financial loss and a demand to exit. There was a law change in 2010 that capping an individual ownership in an insurance company at 25%, meaning that something had to change. Joe Wanjohi, who died in July this year, by March 2012 held 35.84% in the company that now trades as Old Mutual Holdings, meaning that an ownership restructuring was due if the insurer was to comply with the Insurance Act. The solution was elaborate: sell some shares to the public and convert debt held by private equity firms into equity. This would automatically dilute Wanjohi's stake below 25%, while simultaneously raising new capital and reducing debt. At the same time, Mogoye had 10.52% stake. Kirubi and his firm Centum Investment Company had interests of 16.8% and 24% respectively. Okay? So all those things now made them now start restructuring. Where did that leave Kina Joel Kibe? On the bottom. Now, Kina Joel Kibe are like, now I am here in all these. He bought a total of 1.54 million shares of the company at a cost of 246 million shillings on the OTC market between July 2014 and June 2015. And he has sued the Nairobi-based insurer, seeking to be bought out at a price that is likely to top $1 billion shilling mark. Corporate issues, big ones, those ones. Savers stockpile 1.97 trillion shillings in fixed deposit accounts. Hizi bank za Kenya. Wakenya wako na accounts. Wakenya wamefungua fixed deposit account. 1.97 trillion shillings. Savers stockpiled 1.97 trillion in fixed deposit accounts in a record frenzy in the year to June 2024, according to new data, encouraged by the prevailing high interest rates. Imagine.
Kuna pesa.
Ticker headlines: speculators hit as 91% of mining permits bids rejected. 91% applications rejected. Aye. Why?
Yeah.
Aye. KMRC extends refinancing deals to non-shareholders. The Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company has opened up housing loan refinancing services to non-shareholding institutions to increase the reach of affordable mortgage loans. This one, always a big thing to watch. Commercial banks join unit trusts party. Okay. In the Star, top right-hand corner, this time not in teal green, but in white. Imarika Sacco's 50th anniversary celebration. Page 8 and 9. Okay? Next to it, which is now not on the right, it is sort of somewhere in the middle. Manual payroll, how county chiefs created loopholes for ghost workers. Okay. At the bottom, legal curbs. Tough regime for flowers, vegetable farmers in new bill to regulate the sector. Performance contracts. Inside Ruto plan to revamp civil service and enhance service delivery for Kenyans. And 6 Al-Shabaab militants killed, 9 wounded in ambush in Garissa County. Now, bang in the middle of the paper. The front page photo today is of a smiling President William Ruto and smiling Kenyan police officers in in Haiti. When he went to visit them in Haiti, in the multinational security support mission, and the soldiers were there beaming, and they were saying, "Rais, hapa kazi tunachapa."
Lakini
hapa kazi tunachapa, my friend. Hawa jamaa wanahepa. Lakini sasa unajua tukirudi huko nyumbani hatujui kama tuko na pesa.
Hebu angalia hizo vitu.
Hebu angalia mambo yetu. And the president died in 6 months time.
Akasema hizo vitu zitashughulika.
Hizo mambo tutashughulika. Mtasikia soon.
Ongea na supervisor wenu. He actually said that. He actually said ongea na supervisor wenu. That is what he said.
Yeah. The headline, battle lines. MP Sudi said Gachagua will be impeached in the next 2 weeks. The headline, DP's survival options as Kendiki's star shines regard the need support of at least 117 MPs and 13 senators to defeat impeachment motion. Remember, impeachment happens in both houses. When it comes to president and deputy president. You go to the National Assembly, 2/3.
What?
Yeah. And you go to the Senate, 2/3.
This thing just came out like a joke, like
my
story.
Friend.
Kidogo.
My friend.
Outside.
My friend. Things are moving. We'll look at that story shortly. 25 to 7. We are now streaming on YouTube. Hebu refresh. Tuseme hello vizuri. Salimia watu. Yes. Lydiah has done the Lydiah thing. Good morning, everybody who's now following us on YouTube and Facebook, on X, on TikTok. Karibuni sana. Let's take a look at the traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Seal the deal every day with the all-in-one plan from Safaricom. Get data, minutes, and SMS all-in-one on-the-go monthly bundle plan from Safaricom. Tune into the Situation Room every Monday to Friday as we unpack the all-in-one monthly plan from Safaricom. Safaricom is for you.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, so let's take a look at what's happening. City is bubbling with activity this morning. Coming off the Thika Superhighway, traffic is starting to build as you come in from Survey through towards the Pangani Tunnel. Not too crazy, but we'll see. Kangunda Road is busy. Let's take a look quick back at the Thika Superhighway. We have traffic starting to build, coming in all the way from Kahawa, Sukari, and then that's through towards the Allsops Junction. So that's going to be busy this morning from what we see. Monday always has a thing. And on Waiaki Way, as you head out towards Chiromo, that's already starting to build up as well. Langata Road not looking too bad now. Magadi Road has some traffic. It's going to spill over towards Langata Road at some point. It's going to pack up towards Uhuru Highway, rather Uhuru Gardens. And yes, at some point, touch on Uhuru Highway. So it's a watch and see for now. Also, we're taking a look at what's coming in on the Eastern Bypass, and traffic is starting to trickle in through towards Embakasi at the Loop. But for now, that's really the worst of it. We'll have a look and see as we get closer into traffic hour. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Hiya, bossy. Let's look at the big ones.
Many things to talk about, but all right. Betrayal warnings escalate as DP impeachment talks royal political scene. Everybody and their uncle over the weekend was just doing the thing. Blah, 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 blah. It started last week and then really got hot Friday into Saturday into Sunday. Daggers were drawn following reports of an alleged impeachment motion being prepared against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, with the DP yesterday exciting the ground with his own epithets. I can never say that word.
Epithets. Those ones?
Against the backdrop of his own admission of several ties with President William Ruto, Gachagua has now cautioned against the return of politics of betrayal at the expense of running the government and delivering on the many promises that Kenya Kwanza gave in the first 5-year time frame. Oh my goodness. Yesterday, the DP and his allies were in the Pefa Church in Thika, of course, no other place to stage this, where they sustained an onslaught on the president and urged him to put his house in order to avoid creating acrimony in the country. I think it's a little bit too late for that, but okay. Over unsolicited actions of a few individuals. He cautioned that the Mount Kenya people are unforgiving and do not entertain betrayal, aka nonsense, even as he urged the president not to take that route because he risks losing their trust. So if for anything, not 2027, if for the loss of trust from the people of the mountain, don't do this because they will not trust you tomorrow. I'm just telling you. It is the trust of the people that we're trying to salvage here. So please think that way. I want to ask my brother, said Gachagua, the president, to be very cautious. do the right thing and keep our house together. Let us not be disruptive and not reintroduce the politics of betrayal.
Politics of betrayal.
Where the politics went before, I don't know that they're being reintroduced.
Yep.
But okay. He added, any attempt to disrupt on the mandate to serve the people, now we are going back to the people.
Back to the people.
Back to the people. We don't know where they had thrown them before. But again, okay. We will have serious implications in our politics. And this is not healthy for the country, government, and leadership. So let us be careful, cautious, reasonable, and do the right thing by respecting the will of the people. In this case, the people are the people of the mountain. Through a direct vote of electing a president and a deputy. Because you people elected us. We are together. Now, why do you want to bring disruption? Let us not try to carry their mandate and take it upon ourselves to interfere with the will of the people. This was their will.
Yep.
Otherwise known as the people chose me.
And you.
And you.
Don't think it was just you.
Don't think it was just you. And then now you want to send your people to now start coming between us. Don't allow them to get inside the blanket. No. Gachagua repeated his earlier pronouncement that Ruto is the greatest beneficiary of Mount Kenya's distaste for betrayal. When there was an attempt to betray him, the people of this region said no.
Yep.
He added, we do not entertain betrayal. And for that reason, the people of this region stood with him to express their displeasure of betrayal. If we go towards that direction, these people, hey, they are very unforgiving.
They will not forget.
That is just my... Me nakwambia tu.
Me nakusho.
Me nakusho.
Do not forget. Do not forget. There were other leaders who were also speaking there. For example, Embakasi North MP James Gakuya. If the mountain heard Uhuru Kenyatta, those in power today would not have been. Why cause us distress because of our grace and support? Embakasi Central MP Benjamin Gadiru. On this impeachment, we have no power. We'll try to contain it if it comes to Parliament. You, the President, have the power. But there is God in heaven.
Yeah.
There is God in heaven. Nominated MP Triza Wanjiru. No MP can impeach the DP. Only the President can. If it is what you, President Ruto, want, ni sawa tu. It is okay. That's what she said.
Okay.
Murang'a Senator Joe Nyoto. President Ruto, don't accept to be pushed to agree to remove Gachagua. Please don't. Don't entertain that talk. It will be detrimental to the stability of our country. Githongori MP, Gadhoni wa Mushomba. President Ruto, I am not able to advise you, but on behalf of the women of Kiambu, leave Gachagua alone. I cannot imagine we have forgotten the pain in only 2 years. Kiambu Senator Karongo Wadhangwa, if an impeachment motion is brought, it's the president who will have allowed it.
Yeah, so in other words, they're saying this impeachment, ni wewe.
Even Gachagua himself was talking now directly to the president. Now they're no longer saying that, this video, kina Kimani Shongo. This is the president. You are the one who was coming around this country and these counties of Mount Kenya. And we looked at our brother Uhuru and how he was treating you. And we said, no. We told Uhuru, tawe. We said we want to go with Ruto. Now, here you are. It's not even 2 years, my friend. And you're behaving exactly the same way. Let me tell you something. It will be betrayal. Let me tell you. Regade has a pastor for a wife.
Oh, Pastor Dorcas, yes.
Yes. And they're very prayerful people.
Of course.
I can imagine the one song that keeps playing on repeat in Karen is a Kikuyu hymn. Mwadhani nejoe dokadiga nanengwenda ngona ririwa igoro ohide oharia doita genyona ogeo nauru ohide. Lord, I know you will never abandon me. I want to see the glory of heaven. Please hide me where the enemy cannot find me.
Okay.
Should you see danger in front of me, please shelter me.
Shelter me. Okay. Hide me under the rock that is higher than I.
Yes.
Okay.
Should you see any danger, please, Lord, please.
Cover me.
Shelter me. That one, if you go to Karen.
That's what you'll be hearing. On repeat.
On repeat.
On repeat.
Oh, yes. For the next 2 weeks.
Where? Do you see anything different from around this time in 2022, 2021, around this time? Do you see anything different? Plus, ça change, plus c'est la même chose.
Kabisa.
There's no difference.
Kabisa. 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 As in, it's the same exact copy, paste.
You know, I'm a
Copy.
truthful man.
Paste. Oi, Gachagua.
Oi. Oi.
He needs 117 MPs. All right? In the National Assembly. He needs at least 13 senators to save himself. Hapa. Hii ni ngumu.
Ngumu sana bwana.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. Already 69 of the 87 MPs from Mount Kenya have endorsed Kindiki as their link to President William Ruto. Okay? Now, if already you have 69 MPs out of the 87, where is he going to get his 117, this brother of ours?
Zimeisha.
Atatoa wapi 117 MPs?
How many MPs are there in Parliament? How many are there?
My friend.
They're finished.
My friend. Mimi wacha nikuambie, ndugu Gachagua, tulikupenda.
Lakini vile vitu vinaenda. Tukubali.
Anyway, you never know.
You never know. Where?
You
Do you
never
know things
know.
at the last minute? Did you see like
never
yesterday
know.
the football match?
You never know.
At the very last minute,
friend.
anything can change.
And the sentiment that now he is inciting in the there are people who are actually looking at him and thinking, yeah, but surely why is Ruto doing this? Why is Ruto behaving like this? No, this is not right. There are people who may actually just go there and vote and say, nah.
Just because of Uruma.
It is not right. This is not the right way to treat somebody.
Okay.
Margaret Nyakango is always very, very busy, okay? Because she has to approve every expenditure in government. Government is spending money daily.
Every day.
And it has to be approved by the control of budget, Margaret who? Nyakango. Now, how does she approve? She has the budget, something called the Appropriations Act, which has vote items. So the Ministry of Education, for example, has a vote item called blah, 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 infrastructure development in schools. Ministry of Education comes and applies to withdraw that money. Nyakango looks budget, looks amount, correlates, is fine, sign. Fine, signed. Sometimes the ministries can come and say, you know what, there's an emergency, and there's provisions in the Constitution that allow the government to spend money in case of an emergency. Okay?
Yeah.
And when that, in case of an emergency occurs, then the money can be spent. State House and the Interior Ministry spent over 3.8 billion shillings outside of the budget in the financial year ended June 30th, with little disclosure being made for the excess spend. Controller of Budget, Dr. Margaret Nyakango, in her latest report, revealed that she declined to approve nearly half of the amount that State House and the Interior Ministry had requested to spend outside the budget. State House had requested 2.858 billion for what they called national security and state functions.
Sorry.
State House has national security functions.
And state functions.
See, state functions.
That one we can
national
understand.
security, State House. Anyway. They wanted 2.858. All requests were made on the same day, April 9th. April 9th. When does the budget end? June 30th.
June 30th.
Okay? The Controller of Budget approved expenditures of 1.242 billion shillings. Like half of that. The Ministry of Interior requested an additional 3.165 billion shillings, mostly on what it called multi-agency security operations.
Okay.
Multi-agency security operations.
Okay.
We need 3.165 billion shillings.
Okay.
Nyakango's office approved expenditure of 2.65 billion. Spending outside the approved budget is allowed under Article 223 of the Constitution. Such spending, however, is reserved for emergency situations such as abrupt but necessary functions and disasters, or where initially approved expenditure is insufficient. Yes.
An emergency, by definition, means that there's no time for you to have thought of something else. Right? So, can you have a 2.6 billion shilling emergency in the area of security? Did we hear that there were conflicts arising? Or are these one of the things that should be kept secret? Can you say, we have an emergency, 2.6 billion shillings needed?
Yeah, security.
So, okay, such things happen. Okay. Do you know, are you then able to scrutinize after the fact and say, okay, indeed, 2.6 billion shillings went to the Interior Ministry, there was an emergency, and, security threat was foiled or something like that happened?
That's the job now that the Auditor General has to do.
Okay. Nancy Gathungu now goes from to Nancy Gathungu and say, okay, the 2.6 billion shillings emergency money
Checked
that was released, blah, blah, blah.
And this is
what it was spent, and this is what it was used for.
Yeah.
Okay. Where did that money come from?
This one? So that's coming from the National Treasury.
Lakini hakuna pesa ya hizi vitu zingine? There's no money to send children to school.
This is why now capitation was
There's
delayed.
no money
because, you see, we had an emergency in State House, for example, for national security in State House.
So that's why we couldn't do capitation
on April 9th.
All of these things happened on April 9th.
On April 9th is when all these approvals were sought. While the emergency spending is allowed, this provision has been a subject of parliamentary investigation, such as the 15 billion shillings that President Uhuru Kenyatta administration had asked for days to the 2022 general election. Dr. Nyakango told MPs, and we all saw that and heard it, that she had been pressured to authorize that withdrawal, out of which 6 billion shillings was to pay Helios investment in the controversial Telecom Kenya deal. In this just concluded financial year's budget, the national government spent 19 billion outside the budget. 19 billion shillings outside the budget. The expenditure was regularized in the supplementary budgets of November and of June. Other ministries that spent outside the initial approved budget, for example, ICT ministry went and said, give us 221 million shillings. They were given. Energy, 78 million shillings. They were given. Agriculture, 3.4 billion shillings. They were given. East African Community, 1 billion shillings. They were given. Environment, 2.02 billion shillings. Simulipanda miti. They were given.
By the way, mulimaliza 15 billion.
15 billion trees. Hey. Oh, we still have time.
Okay, so.
National Treasury went to the control of budget and asked for 3 billion shillings outside of budget.
Who?
National Treasury.
To do what?
I don't know. Maybe to pay interest for loans that they had already taken. Education Ministry, 177.5 million shillings outside of budget.
Sorry. Yo nimekata.
Outside of budget.
With my everything I have refused.
Kata tu
nimekata.
Ishaenda.
No way.
Trade, 54 million shillings. Cooperatives and MSMEs, 600 million shillings. Sasa unasikia ile ingine ile ilikuwa ile ya interior. National Police Service, 2 billion.
You know what I've just understood? I just had an epiphany. I now understand why striking parties play hardball. Because if you really wanted to find the money to sort out some of these things, you would. It is not possible that you can get emergency funding. All this money, as you've counted it, it has come to about 10 billion. And that's much more than a lot of the money that these folks are asking for. Doctors, clinical officers, nurses, JSS teachers, health infrastructure. It doesn't come up to that kind of money. But this is emergency money. Even the same education that cannot do its capitation is asking for emergency money outside of its budget. And even the budgeted money, you've not sent it. This one is is mental problems on steroids.
Hussein Mohammed was asked, so you guys at the State House had and some national security issues and state functions, and you wanted to do billions of shillings. He said all the money intended for national security functions was used for those purposes. The nature of national security inherently means that specific details cannot be shared.
Okay.
National security is, after all, national security. Even in Parliament, national security issues are heard in camera. To assume otherwise, as you suggest, would be an act of mischief. Okay? You cannot come and just ask, are you going to find any national security? No, we can't tell you. It's national security. What's wrong with you? I mean, don't you get it? He did not, however, confirm how much of the 1.2 billion shillings was spent on national security matters and what portion was used on state functions. He also did not confirm whether the Ghana and Guinea-Bissau trips, where President William Ruto made those trips earlier this year, were catered for using the same funds. Let's just say, this Article 223 of the Constitution needs to be scrapped.
Yani?
It needs to be scrapped. This is where theft happens.
Proper. You can't. What are you going to?
Article
Because you say it's
223
secret.
and supplementary budgets.
Yeah,
Those two things.
You say it is secret, and then nobody can question your intention. Nobody can question your action. Nobody can question anything.
Yeah.
You just say, yeah, well, we don't have to share that information with you
Yeah.
because it's issues of national security.
Yeah.
My big toe. Adani, let me now annoy you a little bit more this Monday morning. Since
Okay.
we're in the spirit, we might as well finish that way.
Okay.
The states themselves, 2 feasibility studies on the airport's expansion, one by Adani and one by KAA, returned 2 starkly different proposals and investment costs. And curiously, the government chose to go with Adani's, which was 27 billion shillings more costly than its own 211 billion shilling projection, ignoring expert opinion. So, remember I told you, mental issues on steroids?
Kabisa.
Yoizo.
Joey.
So now they said, okay, this one can cost 211 billion. How about we take the one that costs 27 billion shillings more? Because, drugs. We've come through 2 feasibility reports, one commissioned by the KAA, that's the Kenya Airports Authority, and another one by the Adani Group. And it now reveals that they disregarded the financial frugality by authorities, therefore loading the taxpayer with a burden of over 25 billion shillings. You want to ask yourself why? Again, drugs. It is not clear how Adani arrived on the scene to get the contract. It has been reported that the Indian privately owned entity read about the plan in the press.
Joey.
The overall condition of the airport is generally satisfactory. No substantial investments are anticipated in the short term for the airfield pavements as they are mostly in good condition. This was an ALG feasibility report dated February 2024. Adani's privately initiated proposal, that's the PIP, dated March 1st, was accepted by KAA on the 18th of March. This thing that you people are talking about, Teteo, it has been long. It's not today's story. The Adani feasibility report, however, lacks a date. There's even no date on their own.
So we don't even know when
We don't even know when it was done. We just know that it's 27 billion shillings more.
All right.
ALG wanted the project to begin July 2025. Some of them already finished. They were just doing the last things when somebody said, whistle what? Blow. It is already a subject of debate before relevant authorities, including the Senate. Head of Corporate Planning and Strategy at KAA, Henry Okoh, told stakeholders during a public participation forum early this month that the project should start by November this year. So all these people are shouting, don't do what, story. The ink on the thing
Dried a long
time ago. If you hear that people did March 1, you people were celebrating Easter.
What?
This thing had gone.
What?
For more money than you can even begin to imagine. So when people use the words loosely like crime scene, syndicate, etc., do you blame them?
They don't even know what they're saying.
There is nothing compared to what is actually happening.
Where?
The proposal started in March. Despite ALG's report being intended to guide procurement, there was nothing like that. So why procedure? Chuck that out the window. Who cares? The government blocked competitive bidding despite ALG recommending a 3-stage process requiring KA to submit concept notes and feasibility reports. Authorities further ignored the recommendations and awarded the tender to Adani. So you see, there's a procedure we are supposed to do things.
Yeah.
Go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. We all agree? Yes. Okay, we're at step 1. Go to 11. 2 to 9. Doesn't matter. We are just going to do as we like. And they were going to do it for much, 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 much more money than even we ourselves have recommended. Did I not tell you that it is mental health on steroids? Drugs.
This Adani deal, it has so many things, so many moving parts. And it is all because the government is not doing a good job in communicating. And why the government is not doing a good job in communicating is because there is likely to be some hanky-panky games that are going on. It's just like the health thingy. Now Safaricom came out over the weekend to say, by the way, we are leading a consortium, and the consortium has a company from Abu Dhabi and another company from where, and they are doing what, and why was this thing not clear from the very beginning?
If I don't want to tell you everything about
why didn't they come out from the very beginning and say, so this is what we are doing as we roll out this UHC? Safaricom are on board. They are going to do this, and the other, and these are the other companies. This is the capacity of this company. This is the capacity and expertise of this other company. That's why. So we all know, as we're heading towards September, October, November, we all know There's a system, it has been put in place. There's this and the other in place. But anyway, ndio hii Kenya. Na hii mambo, utaionea hapa tu. 7 a.m. news time.
Spice up your life.
Ubaga. The High Court's pronunciation to end the National Government Constituency Development Fund has continued to raise different debates in the country, with MPs vowing to appeal. Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro has also asked the court to involve Kenyans before outlawing the NG-CDF.
Go and ask the Kenyan people if they want the Ministry of Education to do the infrastructure in schools or NG-CDF. Ask any parent whether they would want their bursary to come through NG-CDF or to come through the normal government machinery. There is efficiency in CDF.
This is a self-correcting program. It has got its own benefits, and I'm even very sure that even members of the judiciary, some serving even now, are beneficiaries of this same fund. If they are not beneficiaries, either their neighbor, their brothers, their cousins are beneficiaries of this fund.
Nyoro, who is also the chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee in the National Assembly, says that a lot of progress has been achieved in constituencies through NG-CDF, so the removal aims to cripple the provision of services to citizens. His statement was backed up by Kieni MP Maina Njoroge.
Last year, when it was supposed to be scrapped, and Kenyans talked in their numbers, and they said this is their fund. They can point out exactly what CDF have achieved for them over the years.
Hii ni binu ambayo many countries in Africa, including Zambia, they have come here and borrowed our own program. Now we want to disband the program that other countries come to borrow in Kenya. I don't think that is progress.
In the case submitted to the court, according to the petitioners, the involvement of members of the National Assembly in the NG-CDF was harmful to the doctrine of separation of powers, as it affected the powers of the executive as well as those of the Public Service Commission.
We've heard them saying that they are going to pass another law so that they entrench NG-CDF in the constitution. We are telling them, including the leader of the majority, that there is no legislative genius that can align the NG-CDF or CDF or whatever they want to call it to the doctrine of separation of powers.
We urge all arms of government to respect this decision because, as you can see from the recent public protest and debates in the Senate, CDF is often deployed for education bursaries, a role that is also duplicated by several other organs, and one that does not assure all children the right to free and compulsory basic education.
The family of two men who were kidnapped and released last week have spoken for the first time since they found their loved ones. Abdi Rizak Longton, who is the brother of the two Aslam and Jamil Longton, has explained what they went through in the hands of their kidnappers, who are believed to be police officers. Apart from the beatings and other injustices, the brothers were denied food and freedom of worship.
Siku ya pili walifanywa tocha, walipigwa kidogo. Yamna sema alipigwa, Aslam pia akasema alipigwa. Alipopigwa akaanza kuuliza mambo na maandamano. So anasema hiyo kuanzia wiki mpaka wiki ya pili walikuwa wanapigwa sana, especially Aslam. Kila mara mtu anakuja. So kukaa wiki ya 3 wiki ya 4, wakapata wiki ya 3 nasikia aliniambia, kwa sababu anasema after 2 weeks kupigwa iliisha. Kama commission kutoka juu kasemekana watu wasikuwa wanatochwa. Walikuwa wanasaviwa meals 1 in a day. Na choo maybe unafunguliwa 1 a week unaenda. Maji unapatiwa 300 ml ya maji unakunywa. Kwanza walipotolewa kwanza walifungwa mbele tena. Seltape ya white tunakofulisha vile walichukua mara kwanza. Sasa wakaenda wakaambiwa, wakafika kwa hiyo mtu hapo Saidia Gashe, kuna mtu anakuwa hapo, akaambia washukisha hawa, wakashukishwa wakafunguliwa mkono, wakaambia angalieni mtu huko, kwa sababu uangalie mtu na msiangalie nyuma. Akasema sawa. Jamila akakoparate na Sala, akasema jamaa msituue, sema nani ambaye tunataka kuua. Ule mwingine anasikia mwenye alikuwa na simu zake, akatoa simu akaambia simu zenu ndio hizi hapa, akaweka shilingi 300. In transport yenyewe kufikia pale mnaenda.
The two who were kidnapped together with activist Bob Njagi were released last week. The same day, the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Gilbert Masengeli, appeared in court to defend himself against his sentence. Jamil and Aslam were found in Kashia, while Njagi was found in Thogoto, Kiambu County. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, a few minutes after 7 o'clock and traffic is building around the city. On the Eastern Bypass, as you come through towards North Airport Road, it's going to get busier through towards the Cabanas interchange. And then looking at touching on Mombasa Road in this direction and Outer Ring on the other. As you come in from the thicker superhighway, traffic is building from all the way past Kasarani, Githurai actually, past Kasarani through towards the Pangani Tunnel. It's also busy coming in off of Kiambu Road today, and we'll see some traffic then trying to approach Muthaiga Square. Looking at some busyness also coming off of Waiyaki Way as well as Limuru Road this morning. All this pretty busy as we get into the city. Ngong Road is busy. It's also busy coming off of Naivasha Road, and we'll see that going into the city through towards traffic hour. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7 minutes after 7. How are you doing? Welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is The Situation Room. If you're just joining us, asante sana for tuning in today. We are here until 10 a.m. and we thank God that we're here. Okay? So let me just remind you what we shall be discussing today. We are going to have Sakaja Arthur Johnson, the governor of the Nairobi City County Government, in this hour. He's on his way. He'll be joining us shortly. We'll be talking about balancing, promoting business and orderliness in Nairobi. At 8 o'clock, Dr. Irungu Kangata is the governor of Murang'a County, managing county health and revenue collection. We will hear about the Kangata Care as a case study for universal access to health by all. And then at 9 o'clock, we'll be talking about the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA 79, how neutrality can lead to economic and humanitarian crises in Africa. Dr. Edgar Gedua, who is an international relations, peace and conflict researcher and security analyst, will be joining us at what time?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. Safaricom is reminding you, by the way, you want to keep browsing and you want to have peace of mind. You want to make sure that you can call anytime you want to call and you want to have peace of mind. Or to send a message when you want to send a message, you want to have peace of mind. Or you want to access WhatsApp throughout for like 30 days and you want to have peace of mind. One thing you can do.
You can dial on your mobile *544#. Then you will find that it'll tell you option number 4, go monthly. Then the next option, all in one. And that's where you can find all these hunky-dory things. 1,000 minutes of talking. 2,000 SMSs. 17 GB data. Free WhatsApp for 2,000 bob a month. So you don't have to worry that when you're talking on the phone, then you hear, it won't happen because you've paid for 30 days. You will not be browsing and then suddenly the thing starts buffering. It's not going to happen. Try to send a message and then it doesn't go. It's not going to happen. Those things won't happen once you pick the all-in-one option. And you can do that today.
Imagine. We asked Safaricom, so why this all-in-one? Why now? They were like, you know what? We've noticed that many of our customers will buy just enough airtime. Will buy airtime today. They'll use it for a couple of days, and then at some point they'll be in the middle of a call, and the call will drop because they've run out of airtime, and then they'll have to go and try and top up. They'll do the same thing for data. So you've bought data, and then your data has run out, and then it starts going to using your airtime. You are not told to not use airtime. So it just finishes. You again go and top up. And we looked and saw, you're actually spending a lot more money in a month. So why don't we come up with an all-in-one package and say, you buy this for 30 days, it gives you that peace of mind. Because they also notice that at some point, when somebody is about to top up, they realize I wanted to top up, I needed to go to M-Pesa. My M-Pesa balance is not sufficient for the kind of money that I wanted to buy to top up. So I have to now again go to the bank. Going to the bank, I need a USSD code. USSD code needs some data. Some balance.
Yeah.
I didn't have that balance, so now I can't go to M-Pesa to. So they were like, Safaricom decided, let's make this thing easier for our customers. Okay? Just do 2,000 bob, 30 days. 1,000 bob, 30 days. 500 bob, 30 days. Just choose the bundle that works for you. All in one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
It works.
Lest we forget, Masengeli is reporting to office today as the Deputy Inspector General of the National Police in charge of Administration Police. He went to court the other day and he said, Aki, Your Honor, Aki, I'm sorry. Aki, my Lord. You know, me, I was busy. Aki, my Lord. And the Lordship called Justice Mugambi, looked and said, this man is genuinely remorseful.
Surely it is within the time that we had even given him to
There's
court.
There's no need to punish this man. Let's just forgive him. Let's set aside. There have been reactions to that. and my immediate reaction to it was, okay. It started with when Judge Mugambi said, I sentence this officer to jail, but I give him 7 days to come. That already was so why
you already
giving
opened the door for the thing to be, closed.
Guy goes not day 1, not day 2, not day 3, not day 4. Day 6 is when he starts going to court, and day 7 is when he starts appearing in court and saying, by the way, me, I'm sorry, I was busy.
Why do we constantly trample on the very thought or the very imagination that justice in Kenya is justice for all? Why?
Because of such things.
There's such things.
Yeah.
And just like that, the whole country was wrapped in this whole thing for the last 2 weeks. And just like that, with a judgment given and a recusal then given, in 10 minutes, the whole thing has been forgotten. And then we started talking about Mount Kenya.
Yep. There'll be those very many arguments that, this is, the course of justice. This happens in justice. This happens in court. This can happen. It's within, when it comes to contempt of court, it's within the court's, purview to determine how it wants to punish somebody or even how it wants to pardon somebody. The point is, the issue that was coming to the very fore here was about impunity. That's it. That a DIG, acting IG of police, is told, come to court, doesn't go. First, come again tomorrow, doesn't go. 7 times, doesn't go. Is found guilty of contempt of court.
Is
told,
sentenced.
come, appear here when we are sentencing you. Even on the day of the sentencing, doesn't go. He's given days. And then he appears on the last day and he's pardoned.
You have to ask if justice is preferential.
This is impunity.
If justice is preferential, depending on what your rank is in society, or are you just looking at somebody as a Kenyan from beginning to end?
Yeah.
Because on the same day, somebody who did something which one would even consider a lesser evil, if you can, that the wheels of justice ground very hard and very fast for that other individual.
Yeah.
And so you have to ask the question. You do.
I think it just goes back to the judiciary. Is the judiciary supporting or promoting impunity?
Is the judiciary an agent of justice?
Or impunity? Our guest is here. He's seated.
You guys are on a roll. How are you guys?
Very well. How are you, Governor?
Salama, long time.
Very long time.
Very nice to be here.
Are you keeping well?
Very well.
Uko salama?
Uko salama, tunajaribu.
Wapi ndugu yetu?
Mzee has taken a couple of days.
Oh.
He's decided, you know what, I need some time to recharge my batteries. And we told him, yes.
Hey, lucky you.
Hey, we told him, yeah.
You guys can get a break.
Yeah. you go take a break. You haven't taken a break?
How? It is difficult.
Yeah.
You cannot. These are 24/7, 365 kind of job.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And especially Nairobi.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it shortly.
Asante.
Let me welcome you with the proverb courtesy of CT. The proverbs for this week are from Senegal. Have you been to Senegal, Governor?
I've not, incidentally.
You should.
But yeah, I should. The mayor of Dakar is a good friend. It's called Bartholomew Diaz, and he always tells me, man, kuja, come.
He's called Batimayo.
He's actually coming to Nairobi on the 1st of October. I have 14 mayors from across the continent on an African mayoral program. So what are the Senegalese saying?
7 days. I'll give you all the 7 proverbs for the week. So,
what do you mean?
But let's start with today's proverb. Today's proverb says, let me open it. It is better to travel alone than with a bad companion.
That is very true. I don't know how you chose that proverb.
Context.
Pure coincidence.
It speaks to a lot of things.
It is better to travel alone than with a bad companion.
Yeah, that is true.
What do you think?
Sometimes we look for comfort with people, yet they pull you down. And because you're afraid of being lonely or being alone, you hang on to it, yet it's not helping you make progress in life. In many contexts,
they're not adding value.
They're not actually. They're pulling you.
They're actually extracting.
Yeah. So you'd rather tembea peke yako. Yeah.
In all aspects of life.
In all aspects of
Think
life.
about it. Whether you're on a journey, whether you're
whether it's friends,
whether you're
it's
in
at
a
work,
relationship, think about
in
it.
all of them.
Government,
Government, whether you're the governor of Nairobi.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, impeach. Okay, Governor. There have been issues in Nairobi recently.
Yes.
And, it was last week, but one. Was it last week, but one? Yes, when we were looking at traffic in the morning.
Yeah.
And we saw that Haile Selassie Avenue had been closed around Okoh Market. And we saw it's because traders there were not happy, were not a happy lot. What's the story here with Okoh Market?
Thank you. Okoh Market is one of the markets you have in the city, possibly one of the more important ones because of the nature of trade. It's a wholesale market, and a lot of what you get from other markets come from there. That's the point. It all comes in from across the country, and it has exceeded its capacity. And so you now have a situation, or you had a situation because we sorted it out, where you have a lot of trucks on the road. You have women selling on the road. And you remember what happened last year? We lost 52 women in Lydiah, Kericho. Yeah. In a similar, kind of setup, right on the road. And so we engaged these traders. We spoke to them. My departments did, and I also spoke to them. They're people we know. The people we know for many years, and told them, look, let's decongest this place because it causes a lot of traffic. People have to walk on the road, and it's not what it's supposed to be. The capacity of the market was 1,200 traders and 92 parking slots for wholesalers because they sell off their trucks. Today you'll find 300 trucks. You'll find traders have gone up almost 5,000, and so that is why we've been expanding markets. It is not the fault of those traders or those women on the road. It is actually the lack of markets by government. And that's why we said, even when we got in, that we shall build markets, we shall complete stalled markets. And we've completed them. And so once you've built this market with taxpayers' money, Kangundo Road Market is a huge market with capacity. It has space for more than 400 trucks. Wholesale, it has a weighbridge. Where it's easier to assess the trucks that are coming in. It is very accessible.
Where is it exactly?
It's right on Kangundo Road. As you're going towards Kayole, right on Kangundo Road, just before Mama Lucy Hospital. After the turn off to Umoja. It's a beautiful market. Costs around 860 million, 868 million shillings. It was built over time. We completed it when we got into office. And so we're saying, look, some of the selected produce, and no one is trying to move a market, because I had very baseless propaganda that the market wants to be fully, relocated, or somebody wants to sell this market. There are no such plans. And so we are moving selected produce in terms of the wholesale aspect of it, and we will not have people selling on the road. That we will not have.
Wakulima is meant to be a wholesale market.
Yes.
At what point did it become a retail market?
Over the years, it became both wholesale and retail, just because of disorder, and people cutting shortcuts. That yes, instead of wholesale, I can also buy 2 nyanyas here or vitungu, and that brings a lot of disorganization, And so we want to retain it as it should be. Let it serve the other markets in the city, but beyond a certain number of trucks, beyond a certain number of traders, they will ply their trade from Kangundo Road. We've also built another one, or rather it's going on in Mutuini. And look at Mutuini is on the bypass as well now, the other bypass, must be the southern bypass. It's going to be a huge market. We're spending less on it, 245 million, because we've changed how we design our markets. So I think some of the markets built were malls, not markets. And you find traders don't want to go in there. No one is going to go to the 3rd floor to buy onions, to go cook that evening. And so we're having more of just open space, cold storage facilities, proper parking, water, electricity. That is what we're looking at, and that's why we're spending much less per market now. We're building 20 of them. Already we've broken ground in around 4 or 5. Kahawa West, there's Juju Market ongoing. There's Ruai that is coming up. There's Mutuini. There is Karen Market. If you go to Karen, there was a huge mess the roundabout for a long time. And now it's sorted. We've moved the machatus to, there's a temporary site that we have along the road. And the traders are willing to go into the market. So sometimes you find that you've made progress. People have accepted, yes, this makes sense. We will do better business when there is order. And then politicians say, jump on this, let's incite people. And we said, look, we will not pander to the whims of political expediency at the expense of security of the people, safety, traffic, just good order. We promised a city of order, and that's what we must have.
So I think that's one of the things that every time, I think ever since we saw from the beginning of your administration, when there was an attempt to have some kind of order brought into the city, it was always met with what many would say was a political backlash. Whether it's moving traders from within the city, this whole Moy Avenue thing, whether it is getting people to move. Why?
I think it's just myopic politics. Because in many of these instances, and I've given it time, just to listen, and now, enough is enough. We're going to do what must be done. The matatus, for instance, we had agreed with them. They were very happy, actually, most of them, especially those plying Uhuru Highway going down Wayaki Way to Western, Nyanza, Kisii. And they found Green Park is actually very good. It's a good design. And then we provided shuttles from Kenya Railway, so that when you alight from there, it just does the loop inside town, goes to Kencom, comes back. The passengers were saying this is better. Some of the places we were alighting at Tirum, unashuka, the Kanjo think you're also a tout, you're touting, your luggage is taken, somebody pulls it. But then after making that progress, we were pulled back. And in as much as it's operating, we've been observing, yes, it is true there is a triad, of trade, where you have a terminus, you also will have some business going on, some hawking. If you go to Nyamakima, you'll find some people don't even travel. They just call the shop. They say, Nieke, my cereals into that matter to come into Nyeri, and it'll bring, There's a dynamic that you must have, but there must be order. The city has grown. When some of these facilities were built, if you look at, population of 2002 was 2 million Nairobians. Now we are 7 million during the day and 5 at night, And so we must move with those times and just have our capital. This is a global hub, We must have it representative of what Nairobi must be.
The question, though, is, are we doing this knee-jerk reactions, or are we doing this within a long-term plan?
It's within
There have been plans that, we haven't really actualized the plan in Nairobi. But for example, the new plan and all, what was the plan saying about access to produce in Nairobi, bringing produce in Nairobi? How many markets should Nairobi have? And how far apart should they be? That is wholesale markets. How do you move from wholesale into retail? How does it move all the way from retail into neighborhood markets?
Precisely.
What's the plan?
There have been many attempts towards planning of the city. over the years, if I'm to go to the history from the 1924 Master Plan, 48, the last one was 76, because the new plan really set the foundation of now specific local area plans. So it's a foundation, and because of that, many things fell off, whether it is water, whether it is trade, whether it is traffic, the loops that were missing. And so, yes, while it speaks broadly, about those aspects, now is when we're actually doing the real plan for the city, with the Nairobi Vision 2050. And as we set up the task force, we'll have people from all all stakeholders, architects, traders, resident associations, to come down with us for a year-long program. I've gone through all of those that were there before. There was the Nairobi We Want conference. But the city has just been, hurtling along, without physical plans for, local areas. There was an attempt during the NMS time. They actually tendered, but I think they ran out of money, so they couldn't do it. Now, what we've been able to do, we've secured $60 million from the Millennium Challenge Corporation. That's a congressional fund in the US. And a lot of that is going to come towards proper physical planning, urban planning for the city. And then it's a threshold program at $60 million. That's a FIB. And then it translates into what we call now a compact program of around $700 to $800 million to implement what that plan is. So Nairobi 2050 will be anchored on that MCC. But even as that goes on, life moves day by day. You can actually see that, look, we can't just wait for that annual process and we're losing money, we're losing resources. Let's act now. And so that's why we said let's build 20 more markets. Let's even partner with the private sector. You can actually build a market of this nature in this place and collect rent from it. It doesn't all have to be the city doing it. And we're getting very, very good responses. If you look at water, for instance, Eric, the last water source for Nairobi was built in 1997, from 1994 to 1997, targeting a population of 2002, which was 2 million Nairobians. The first one was 1906 to 1910, Kikuyu Springs. That one gives us 6,000 cubic meters. The second one, 1928, again colonial, that is Ruiru Dam. The third one was 1958, Ndakaine, which gives us 60 million liters a day. And then finally, that was Sasumwa in Nyandarua, gives us 60 million liters a day. Then finally, from 1994 to 97, Ndakaine. So what happens? You have a quantity of water that comes into the city, 525.6 million liters daily, yet you require 970 thereabout. And it grows by 4%. And so when you got into office, you said, look, we can't go on this same way. There had been the Northern Collector Tunnel, which was stalled for a long time because of just way leaves, people along the line. And I'm very grateful. I looked for President William Ruto. I told him, please, we need this. You live in Nairobi. All of us live in this city. Let's get some resources. We got money through NLC. We paid. And now I'm very happy to announce that 140 million liters of water will be coming into the city daily. 140 million liters extra. Within the next few days. In fact, what we're doing now is the final connection between Gigiri, our reservoir, and Kigoro, the new treatment plant that brings in that water. But even as we do that now, we must plan the next 1 million liters. Let's not wait again for the population to go up.
Because 140 is still less than half the deficit.
So there's 140 from Northern Collector. Then Karimenu brings in another 70 million liters. 50 is supposed to go to Ruiru. But fortunate for Nairobians, Ruiru is not ready to receive it. They don't have the infrastructure yet. And so a lot of that is going to come into to the city. We've also secured funding for this by Korea for Northern Collector 2 and Maragua 4. Those add to 20 million liters. So within the next 2-3 years, we can actually solve that deficit. Our engineers are very creative at Nairobi Water. They found out that, look, there's a system at Ngedu treatment. We call it a backwash system in the filtration of water that we lose 30 million liters daily. And so they're engineering that, and you'll have now half of Sasumwa coming into the, half of the quantity of Sasumwa, 60 million, now 30 million coming in. So all of this is happening. And while it's happening, we are talking about technology, SCADA technology. How do we see where water has been infiltrated? Just down the road here, I went once. We were doing something with what we call the water police. A lady has a kiosk. Looks like a kiosk from outside. But you come inside, you go underground. It's a pumping station. She has 16 pumps providing water from our line to flats. Yeah. She's metered them. She's providing water and electricity. She's Kenya Power and Nairobi Water at one. A lot of these illegal connections. Right now, Langata is starting to get water because the line that used to go through Kibra had been infiltrated. We've had to to concretize it. So now you can start getting water there. And of course, now we give the people of Kibra water properly. So all this is happening, yes, Eric. The planning is going on, but we have to keep sorting out these problems day by day. A lot of how the city was running cannot hold anymore. Look at issues of solid waste management. We can't use the same model that we've been having from before. We are setting up now Nairobi Solid Waste Management Company that is almost like Nairobi Water, a standalone company that has, because there are three aspects to it. There is human resource. You need staff. I've hired 3,500 youth in the last 2 years in what we call the Green Army. Number two is equipment. You know, you need the trucks. When I was a kid, I remember every Monday, it used to be Tuesday and the Saturday, the Camero used to come and we would be given bins by the city, NCC. And within the water bill, there was a garbage cost. Yeah. And we knew, like clockwork. But you see, that got lost because, again, biashara, contractors for garbage want to, you know, and it's a $1 billion shilling business. So we're moving from that to now back to a company standalone that has its money ring fenced. Because you can imagine, like now, those young people collecting the garbage every day, putting it by the road, but the trucks then have
there's no
fuel.
truck to come and collect.
Yeah.
So I hear you saying that there's a lot that had gone wrong with the city
over the years. Yeah.
So there's a need to correct that wrong.
Yes.
While at the same time maintain some kind of order.
Yes. When planned for the future.
Exactly, with the hope to develop for the future.
Yes. You must do that.
Is this something that was seen or unseen by you before?
No, it was seen as something I knew. You know, I was a member of parliament in Nairobi. I've been the senator of the city. And especially the Senate gives you a good, you know, view of what's happening and what's not happening. And so when you get in the first few months, you must set up government. You must, you know, understand now deeper dynamics. It's always different when you look from outside, you know. And they say you campaign in poetry, you govern in prose. And so now you see and you try things and your programs start, you know, coming alive. You know, and I'm very proud that in the last 2 years we've achieved many things. You know, if we have time, we'll go into that. And so now is when we're moving into that now, you know, full replanning while things are happening. Kids are eating food in school. We've built kitchens, we've built ECD centers, you know, there's a lot that's happening, but still you plan forward. And so that's why we're saying we will not allow anyone to take us back to the problems we had, because the problems we had in Nairobi were because of political expediency. After 1992, when the ruling party lost grip of Nairobi, it was just went south.
It was downhill from there.
It was just downhill because multipartyism came. President Moi lost control of Nairobi. The councillors, the Kajoras, you remember those guys, a lot of the land we're recovering now. Because I found so many parcels of land. I issued titles on.
I want us to take a break. We'll come back and continue. But before we take a break, now that you mentioned the Cameros, the last time you were here, you said that by, I think, October last year, would have those compactor garbage trucks on the roads.
We bought them,
but
they're not enough. So we bought 24 tippers. We have another 24 refuse compactors. I'll show you photos. We're just concluding that transaction.
Are they on the road? Are they in operation?
Not yet. But we have them. We've bought them. Yeah, I should flag them off anytime.
So it's a year later.
Yeah, because they were being fabricated in Turkey. You know, that we don't have that capacity here. But it's Isuzu that we engaged, and they finally completed it. I need to pay them around 215 million in the next, as soon as we get money. Remember, it's the first quarter of a financial year. No county has received a shilling in 3 months, and so there's also that dynamic.
26 minutes to 8. Our guest this morning is the governor of the Nairobi City County Government, Sakaja Arthur Johnson.
Yes, I like how you say it.
We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Kenyans abroad, sending money home should be simple and stress-free. Stay connected back home. Open your Credit Bank Nyumbani Diaspora account today by visiting www.creditbank.co.ke. Just a few clicks and you're all set to send love and support back to your loved ones. And that's not all. Explore a world of possibilities, including investment opportunities. It's fast, easy, and secure, bringing you closer to the moments that matter most. Visit creditbank.co.ke or call +254 70 907 2000 to learn more. Credit Bank is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya. Ready to take your farm to the next level? The Farm Kenya Annual Mkulima Expo in Kitale is the place to be. Circle the dates, 27th and 29th of September at Ndura Grounds. This year's game-changing theme, safe harvesting and storage, bigger profits. Get hands-on with cutting-edge tech, unlock the secrets of safe storage, and dive into farm-to-fork innovations. Rub shoulders with top players from seed companies, mechanization pros, storage experts, and more, all under one roof. Farmers, MSMEs, researchers, investors, this event is tailor-made for you. It's your shot to elevate your farm and maximize your gains. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Be part of the action at the Farm Kenya Expo. Brought to you by Farm Kenya. Powering the future of farming, transforming lives.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi, 14 degrees, highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 25 in a sunny Nakuru at 14. It's 14 and sunny in Nyeri, highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 24 in a sunny Eldoret at 13. It's sunny at 24 in Mombasa with highs of 29, while Malindi at 25 is sunny, we'll see highs of 30. Kisumu partly sunny at 20, going to highs of 29, and Kakamega at 18 is sunny with highs of 28. We're looking at a cloudy morning in Kampala at 19 with highs of 26, while Dar es Salaam at 24 is sunny with highs of 31. Johannesburg this morning, 6 degrees and cloudy, highs of 19, while Mogadishu at 27 is sunny, highs of 30, Addis Ababa at 14, sunny with highs of 21, and Lagos is cloudy at 25, going to highs of 30, while Kinshasa at 22 is cloudy with highs of 33.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life.
All right, busy in the city this morning. Let's take a look at what's coming in heavy on the Thika Superhighway, all the way from beyond Garden City. Now we're looking at a bumper-to-bumper situation through Survey and out towards Murang'a Road. It's busy on the Globe Cinema roundabout, as well as traffic coming in on Wangari Maathai Way. Through towards Chiromo on one side and Uhuru Highway on the other. Busy on Wayaki Way as well. Take a quick look at what's coming off of James Gishuru, and that's busy as you cross over towards the Red Hill Link Road, and there is traffic that has built really quickly Lower Kabete through towards the city, as well as on Limuru Road. We'll take a quick look at Jogo Road heading towards Landis. Very busy, and it's also very busy on the Eastern Bypass coming through towards North Airport Road, and some of that will go in from Outer Ring. We're in traffic hour. Let's see what happens as we go through it this morning. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Sakaja Arthur Johnson is the governor of Nairobi City County Government. He's our guest today, promoting business and maintaining order. That's how you campaigned, Governor.
Yes.
You said you want to restore order to this city.
We said we wanted a city of order,
Yeah.
dignity, hope, and opportunity.
Bas.
Yes. Do you?
Now, 2 years later,
Yeah.
and in fact, when we promoted and said that you'd be coming today, and people would see the title of order in that topic, many of them are asking, what order? Do you think people had very high and realistic expectations?
No, I also have the same expectations. We must do it.
Do you think those that are still feeling we still don't have order in this city are justified?
They are justified. There's been restoration of order in many aspects. You know, if you go to town these days in the CBD, up Mo Avenue going up, you'll not find hawking. The time
Nairobi
is regulated. Nairobi of up, but also down there because we want to create more markets for these people to be able to trade. It was not going to happen in a year. or 2 years. We've said how the disorder has been building up for a long time from 1993, but it's a journey that we can say, look, this is where we're going to in restoration of order. And part of what we're doing, like the discussion on Makulima, is about order. Yeah. And so we must decide what we want. You can't have your cake and eat it. You can't say, you're harassing hawkers, but we want order. Or we can't have our cake and eat it. And if you look at comments normally online, whatever you do, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. We are focused on making sure before we move somebody, we have found the alternative for them to go to, because we must also be fair and we must be humane.
Yeah.
And now that's what we've been able to do. We've built these markets. We've made sure that they're operational. Now move. And when we say now move, that it's there.
Yeah.
We will not pull back.
One of the things that you will need, though, Governor, is the buy-in of critical stakeholders.
Yeah.
You've told us about the matatus and the matatu sector,
yes,
and the kind of pushback that you get. We saw Wakulima market and the lighting of tires, and you had to have another meeting and another meeting. It's like stakeholders are not walking the journey with you.
No, that's not true. When politics comes in, it'll look like you've never discussed these things with these people. When is the last time you had a matatu strike in Nairobi? It's not happened in 2 years. Why? I'm on a group with them. Yeah, WhatsApp, and I hope they don't remove me. I meet them every so often. We've aligned them into corridors. We meet at Charter Hall. We hear their issues. There's not been a matatu strike. You have not seen the running battles that were there with hawkers. And, they used to be chased and injured with crude weapons. I'm sure you remember all that. It's not happened. You might find one instance or another. Like I remember there was this young boy called Renova who was selling groundnuts.
Yep.
And the groundnuts was spilled.
Yes.
And when you see it online, when you see it in 2 seconds, you're like, oh my goodness, these guys are so cruel. But I called the boy and heard his story. Actually, they are trained that when you see an authority coming, create a scene. Whether it is your nyanyas or whatnot, spill them, because he's a Burundian boy who's been trafficked to Nairobi. And so they know when you're caught, you'll expose those running this ring.
The cartel.
The boy stays with me to date. Because the embassy wanted to send him back to Burundi for him to just come back. He's refused to. He can't go to school here because of the language barrier.
Yeah.
If he goes there, he will still come back. So I am with him. I'm taking him now to my TVETs to be trained on mechanical engineering and all of that. But he exposed the whole thing around it. And so we must decide what
Wakulima traders, why did they light fire?
The traders didn't light fire.
Who
Those
did?
are goons. It's not the traders who lit fires over there. It is not. It's not the traders who would burnt our county stores. If you look at that thing, there are guys with rungus and pangas and all of that. Those are not the traders. The traders, and I heard somebody saying that is the one who introduced me to these people. The chairman of Wakulima Market is called Tony. Tony was my youth leader in TNA in 2013. Yeah? Tony later became the youth leader of Wakulima Market in 2017 when I was senator. How was I being introduced to him in 2022? The person in charge of pineapples, I know. The potatoes, they have the different produce. And we engage with them. We talk to them. In fact, they are the ones who said, number one, they don't want the traders on the road. The leadership of the market. Because when people are on the road, no one goes into the market. We agree with them. And so it's just people trying to pull us back by bringing politics.
Are you saying all traders in Wakulima, even those that were selling on the road?
The ones on the road are the hawkers, you see?
Yeah.
The traders allocated space in the market. Actually are saying, please, help us remove those people. If when this place flows, our business works better.
So they also understand that there needs to be some kind of order.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about Nyamakima business people, the business community in Nyamakima, and so I think last year we had a prayer session with them, and the place we call now Kamkunji down there, they're like, please, Governor, we are paying rates, we're paying rent. How can you have somebody outside my shop also selling the same thing I'm selling? So you have to balance, and you meet the workers and tell them, okay, guys, from morning to 4 p.m., keep off. Let these guys do their business in their shops. Then you can come from 4 to whatever other time. In the meantime, while you build for your market. So it's a balance that you must, you must balance all the different players.
Right.
Somebody has a fish and chips in town, but there's smoke from the matatu going into people cannot eat there. How do you balance those interests? That's how the city looks like. Those are the things you must look at.
Yeah.
Politically, it has become another whole issue.
Yeah,
but as we've seen you, you're not ignoring it. You wrote a whole statement and you shared it on social media. The statement was to
clarify the issues.
Responding to the Deputy President.
Yes.
Earlier, you also had written a post on social media telling the Deputy President that he has your number, he can call
because he had gone on a rant on Facebook.
What is this? What's this all about?
He had gone
now
on
you're saying he didn't even introduce you to the workers, didn't campaign for you. He said in the interview last week that he was a guarantor.
How is he a guarantor? In fact, in 2022, I think, I don't know who was introducing the other to the people of Nairobi. I mean, I'm grateful, and I said it on Saturday. I'm grateful for him helping in the campaign. I also campaigned for him and for the president in Nairobi because I was the sitting senator. But even if you campaigned for me, did you campaign for me for you to become the governor? Or for me to become the governor, and so that kind of politics is really backward. Saying I'm your guarantor because these are people who are from my community. If Nairobi is so cosmopolitan, we have people from all communities. There is no interest. We've just spoken about water. There is no Luo lack of water in Nairobi, or Kikuyu lack of water, or Kamba potholes, or Kisii hunger. All our problems are the same. But when you try to make it to cocoon, to put people in these small cocoons and divide them in the city, Nairobians themselves don't like it. They don't like it at all, And so that style of politics, and even if you look at my statement, I said I've restrained myself from responding because of just political hygiene. This is your senior. When he put a post on Facebook saying my younger brother, and people are saying, why don't you just call the guy? And my response was, my elder brother, you have my number. Simple. I didn't say anything further than that. And so you can tell when somebody is communicating to you through that media, the intention is really not to solve the issue.
Do you think it's birthed from a genuine desire to have the kind of order in Nairobi that you do? Or really, is it a political tool to continue to seek relevance?
It's politics. You want to look like the fighter and the protector of a community's interest. Yet that community itself wants order. When I've described for you traders in Yamakima, the market people, they want that order. They want those spaces. If you go to Kangundo Road Market today, they're saying, please, all this is here. Come and trade from this place. So it is poor politics. And it speaks to many things, including lack of proper experience in how. And there's time for politics and time to govern. If every day we're doing things just to be popular with the people, when will we ever change our country or our city? And so you find, because of the other things that are happening in the politics, nationally, someone says, wow, this is a good opportunity to jump on this issue and solidify my position as the protector. But we're beyond that. We really can't operate that way. So our actions around the markets and Wakulima will go on as planned and as we've agreed with these people. And these are people who, when I say there's no guarantor, we were all a team. We were a team campaigning, and at that time, he was just one time MP in Madeira, and I was the sitting senator of the city, having been an MP as well in the city. So that posturing of, no, I'm the one, if it was not me, you will not get this, is truly false. It is actually false. In fact, if you look at Nairobi, unfortunately, our president got fewer votes than the opposition, by almost 200,000 votes. The senator position went to ODM. The women rep went to ODM. Out of 17 constituencies, we got 4 in Kenya Kwanza. Out of 85 wards, we got 35. I won also. It tells you something about the city. The city's dynamic is not like an homogeneous county in the rural area. It is not like Nyeri. It is not like Sigei. It is not like Homa Bay. It is not like Murang'a. It's a city with its dynamics, with different communities, with a vibrant, youth population, with professionals who want to see certain things happening, with people who can have an intellectual discussion on issues, even at the grassroots.
Yeah.
So that dynamic, I don't agree with it.
Your relationship with even the Kenya Kwanza MPs in the city
is
not so rosy.
I mean, it's the same guys who are with him. That is.
So is it him or is it
Of course.
you and the MPs?
It is him. It is him. With them after that episode,
For example, KJ.
Yeah, KJ has now finally pulled back.
KJ has not been on the Rigathi Gachagua side.
No, he was. He was pulled back. And the same KJ. If you look at clips of him talking when we were groundbreaking kitchen in Mutuini, it's full of praise. So how do you praise a guy and then in 3 months you say nothing is working? It just tells you it's politics. And remember, at that time we were doing UDA grassroots elections, and many of the MPs felt, look, if the governor is going for chairman and one of us is going for chairman, he will make us also lose in our constituencies. And so there was that fear. And I said, okay, if you guys think that I will do better than you, then just make me the chairman, for heaven's sake, because that's what politics is about. If you want to make our party get more votes than it got in the last election, why don't we change our approach and our tact? So it's mainly politics. We can talk about a lot of look today. 25% of children in Nairobi were not going to school because of hunger. Today, 310,000 children are wearing this watch. 310,000 children. We've built 17 kitchens. These 310,000 children are only paying 5 bob per day for the meal. Enrollment has gone up 34%. There used to be 240,000 kids in our school. It has gone up. Attendance is at 100%. The kids are, and more than that, they feel loved.
Yeah.
And they're happy. They're not even finishing the food. Some of them are taking the food back home. For their siblings or for their parents. We've created 2,000 plus jobs in that value chain. The chefs, the cooks, construction workers, the drivers, because it's a hub and spoke model from one central kitchen. And I wish you guys can take time and go to the one just behind you over here, or at Road C, and just see that one produces 60,000 meals a day.
That's the one Sifuna visited.
Yes,
the senator.
Yes,
and
the others produce
many questions to ask.
They were clarified. Otherwise you'd have seen a report. It was all clarified to him, and he understands how it works, because everyone would wonder, how is this thing working? But it's amazing. It's transformational.
I think that's the thing that sometimes irks me. And, quite honestly so, Governor, is that there are many things that are happening in the city that would point towards positive growth and development.
Yeah.
By your own admission, there are also a lot of things that need attention.
Yes.
But on the trajectory of whereby you say development is happening in the city, it is evident by some of the things that you've mentioned today and some of the things that we just see. However, it would just appear as though that unfortunately sometimes the ugly politics takes away from that. And when are we going to be... Look at Nairobi, how crucial it is to the development of the country as a whole. And the one who governs it, yourself, then has that strategic role to play, that it actually just does stand in a place whereby it's a beacon. But then now when politics come into play, what it does is that it takes away from that light. Is it possible to run the city void? Is it possible? I mean, really honestly, to run the city void of the politics when we understand that it is upon a political platform that you got there in the first place?
It's not possible. In the same way you cannot run the country without the politics. And the country is even more important than the city. It's our democracy. That's how our democracy is structured. You must, and that's why for you to run Nairobi, remember what a mess it was for years. Every 2 years, there'd be fights. Every year. There was even a police post in the county assembly. There are bullet holes in the wall of the Nairobi County. You remember Mafirifiri and, let's remove this governor, let's remove the speaker. Nairobi has never had 2 years of quiet as it has. And so some people, don't like that piece. I remember, there are those who are benefiting from the lack of systems in the city. The revenue loopholes. We have been able to raise the highest amount in devolution, 12.8 billion. Never raised before, because we digitized every revenue stream. All of them are digitized. There are people who are benefiting from fake LPOs on River Road. We've moved fully to e-procurement. So those people are not happy. And so when they're not happy, they also find convergence with now those who have a political issue. There are those people who think possibly if Sakaja succeeds in Nairobi and gets another term in Nairobi, he might be a problem in future. That is a live discussion. I mean, if I was not Sakaja, I would also think that way.
So it's cartels fighting
And so
back.
it is a
God forbid
convergence.
you might want to be president.
Imagine what if that happens, and Nairobi is a shining example of what we've been able to do.
Yeah.
And so they find a convergence. They're buddies. They're like, we both have a common enemy.
Cartels.
But every
Regrouping.
time, I keep saying cartels is a lazy word for leaders who don't want to get things done.
You've escaped that one nicely. I was going to land you right there.
I always, I've always said that. Let me tell you, Nairobi had no public ICU before I became governor. Nairobi County had no public ICU.
Yeah.
The only ICU was Kenyatta Hospital, which is national in Sirifaro.
Yeah.
Today we have how many ICUs? We've done Mama Lucy Hospital, Pumwani. We have a new NICU, a neonatal ICU for preterm babies at Mbagathi Hospital. It was, that had never existed. We changed the model of running hospitals. Instead of a medical superintendent, we now have CEOs in our level 5s. The transformation of the first public eye hospital in Kenya. There's been no public eye hospital. Go to Mojatu Annex, where even your spectacles are manufactured there. There was an old man, this story I love, 91-year-old man, had not seen for 50 years, needed simple surgery. And every time he'd been asked, to do that, it was too much. Let him educate his children or whatnot. He regained his eyesight in Mojatu. He refused to leave the hospital. Said, if I leave this Kitutaisha, let me stay here. And you just see him with his son saying, Kumbe, you look like this. I thought you're more handsome. And just joking around. Yeah. We see more than 300 people there daily. We've done thousands of surgeries. And so there's been progress. And so for you to be the governor of Nairobi, you must have a mind of a CEO and the heart of a social worker, but the grits and shrewdness of a politician, all in one. You must balance an assembly. I run a minority government. The leader of majority is ODM. The person who brings my budget is the MCA for Mabatini, the budget chair. I must work with them. And so the first thing that created a problem with the deputy president was when I got in, I started broad-based. I put in CECs from ODM, from Wiper. I mixed them with UDA. Chief officers, I mixed, And at that time, I was the only person possibly who in a day would talk to President Ruto and then talk to Kalonzo and talk to Raila and come back to President Ruto. And I walked with him day by day and told him, boss, you see these dynamics? During the nominations, I told you, if we do 1, 2, 3, we'll lose these seats. We did. Because in our party, every party in the coalition fielded candidates. But in Azimio, if it was Jubilee, there was no ODM. And so and he said, yes, okay, actually, it makes sense. Go talk to him. These are the first names. What do you think? No. And that is how you run the city. And so you must be able to do that, to handle the MCAs and the politics, and then also go look for $100 million from Korea to do Northern Collector 2 in Maragua 4, and then also have the capacity to make sure there's drugs in your hospitals, and then move traders from Wakulima, and then come and do street lights where they've never been. Look at, we've done more than 10,000 lights. So it's that's what I'm telling you. It's a 365.
And control development.
Yes.
Right? Because that's the other thing that is there. I know there's a part of it that's in court. You took us to court.
Yeah.
Yani Sakaja, you took us to court. Anyway, there's the issue of...
anything I say here, I must be able to substantiate. Simple as that.
You took us to... not taking us... The issue of development and uncontrolled development is one that citizens or residents of Nairobi are raising.
Yeah.
They feel that there are unscrupulous developers in this city.
It is true.
Who have permits to do 5 floors, they're doing 15 floors.
There's no such case of someone with a 5-floor permit doing 15 floors.
Okay, well, it was an example. But
that's a wild one. Yeah? For a long time, people just built how they wanted to build. I keep telling you the last master plan was 76 in terms of development control. And we sent that policy to the assembly, development control policy, land use policy. I know actually this week the MCAs and the planning committee are going to be in the coast, just going through that and the regularization plan. Because of that, the first thing we did was to change the Urban Planning Technical Committee. The PLUPA, Physical Land Use Planning Act, talks about a CEC of lands being the one person who makes those approvals. And we said, look, let's democratize this process. It can't be one person saying yes or saying no. And so you have an Urban Planning Technical Committee, which has representatives from the Architects Association, from the engineers. In the first iteration of that committee, there are resident associations, Mkara was represented, and they sit every fortnight. And they debate. You have surveyors, you have Kenya Civil Aviation Authority that looks at those heights and says, no, this is too much. You have Nairobi water. And so it is a democratized process. What I've also done, I've set up a team that is reviewing all approvals in the last 2 years to see if people are following what they actually asked for. And I asked the professional bodies, when an architect submits a plan for a building, and then the developer removes him from that construction, they should tell us. Because you find a submission has been done, it's good, it passes the test, and then somebody goes and does something completely different. And so there's need for that development control enforcement.
Did you meet with the architects and the other professionals who sought your audience?
Not once.
And they raised this issue in a public press conference and said, we have been seeking audience with the governor. Never once met him.
You see,
did you since meet them?
You see, it's an institution. It's not me. I've met them personally, but they sit in those committees. They sit in that urban planning technical committee. And so, yes, I've met Florence Nyole and her team. I've met the engineers, and I'm glad. I'm happy to meet them again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Governor, we will give you 2 hours next time you come.
We need time. Nairobi needs
so we need
time.
to discuss.
Possibly we should do a next space. You can host one.
We will do that.
So that we can discuss everything. So it's good for people to understand what's happening.
Good idea.
Asante sana.
Sakaja Arthur Johnson is the governor of Nairobi City County Government. He's been our guest this hour talking about balancing between promoting business and restoring order in the city. It's 8 a.m. news time.
Good morning. This is the news wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. President William Ruto has challenged the structures of multilateral institutions, which he says have failed to address challenges in developing countries. In an interactive dialogue of the Summit of the Future at the United Nations General Assembly in New York, Ruto said structural challenges are a risk to developing countries and could hinder them from achieving their sustainable development goals by 2030.
In the circumstances, the upcoming 4th International Conference on Financing for Development may be our last opportunity to make the radical changes needed to realize and realign our development priorities to meet the SDGs by 2030. We must urgently close financing gaps, bridge international divides, and restore trust in multilateralism. However, the current multilateral system is clearly struggling to address these immense, complex and dynamic challenges effectively.
The head of state noted that the current system in institutions such as the International Monetary Fund, that is IMF, and World Bank is failing to address the complex challenges in developing nations and instead impacting them negatively.
This is why countries are increasingly turning to innovative, homegrown approaches to solve their most pressing problems. To achieve the SDGs, we must address the structural and financial issues hampering multilateral institutions, particularly their negative impact on developing countries. These challenges include limited fiscal ability, rising debt, unfair credit rating frameworks, and uneven interest rate regime. In the face of deteriorating global economic conditions worsened by relentless climate crisis, these weaknesses limit the opportunities, especially in low-income countries.
Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has defended the decision to decongest traders within the CBD. Speaking on SpiceFM Situation Room, Sakaja said the move was aimed at bringing sanity in the city, further refuting claims that there was a plan to sell Wakulima market.
And so we engaged these traders. They're people we know for many years and told them, look, let's decongest this place because it causes a lot of traffic. People have to walk on the road and it's not what it's supposed to be. The capacity of the market was 1,200 traders and 92 parking slots for wholesalers because they sell off their trucks. Today you'll find 300 trucks. You'll find traders have gone up almost 5,000. And so Kangundo Road Market is a huge huge market with capacity. It has space for more than 400 trucks. Wholesale, it has a weighbridge where, it's easier to assess. Cost around 868 million shillings. It was built over time. We completed it when we got into office. And so we're saying, look, some of the selected produce, and no one is trying to move a market, because I had very baseless propaganda that the market wants to be fully, relocated, or somebody wants to sell this market. There are no such plans.
Sakaja added that 249 million shillings had also been put aside to come up with another market along Mtwini, which is among 20 other markets the government had promised to achieve.
That is why we've been expanding markets. It is not the fault of those traders or those women on the road. It is actually the lack of markets by government. And that's why we said, even when we got in, that we shall build markets, we shall complete stalled markets. And we've completed them. We've also built another one, or rather it's going on in Mtwini. It's going to be a huge market. We're spending less on it, 245 million, because we've changed how we design our markets. And so we're having more of just open space, cold storage facilities, proper parking, water, electricity. That is what we're looking at, and that's why we're spending much less per market now. We're building 20 of them. Already we've broken ground in around 4 or 5. Kahawa West, there's Jojo Market ongoing, there's Ruai that is coming up, there's Mtwini, there is Karen Market.
That's the news wire. I'm Lea Umaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Traffic this morning, heavy everywhere, and we're looking at it coming in heavy. Wow, on the Eastern Bypass, in and outbound traffic. Not quite sure what's causing that. We're coming in all the way from the Kangundo-Ruai interchange. It's coming in all the way through towards North Airport Road. It's going to be busy for some time. Also heavy on an outer ring. Let's look on the other side of the city. Traffic, we've seen this coming in early on the Thika Superhighway. Very, very heavy. Getting through towards Wangari Maathai on this side, Murang'a Road on the other, and getting to the roundabout at Globe Cinema. All right, Waiyaki Way traffic, Limuru Road traffic, Spring Valley, Lower Kabete, you guessed it, traffic. It's everywhere you look this morning. We just need to keep your wits about. Langata Road has started to build up quite some, coming in heavy from Magadi Road. And then also we're looking at Ngong Road with traffic coming in from Naivasha Road. We're in traffic hour, and this Monday, it's what? It's proper. Let's talk SpiceFM KE on X. Hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 7 minutes after 8. Good morning and welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is The Situation Room, broadcasting from Nairobi to the world. There's a gentleman who is a very good friend of ours, Ndu.
Yes.
And his name is Ruben Kigame.
Yes.
And he says, I say hello to you.
Good morning.
He's watching us from America. Sasa kwake ni good night. Amesema he's watching us all the way from America.
Fantastic.
America. Amesema say hello to Ndu Okoh.
Nipokea salama, asante sana.
Yeah, I know some people say Ruben Kigame is watching. Yes,
he is. Acha ikwetu hivyo.
Yeah, acha ikwetu hivyo. He's at the Grand Rapids in Michigan, Calvin University. Huko ndio yako.
Okay.
Yes. Haya. 2,000 bob gives you what? 17 GB of data. What else?
2,000 air messages, 2,000 SMSs.
And what else?
1,000 minutes talk time.
And what else?
Free WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Because you did what? You took your phone, you dialed *44# *544#, and then you went to number 4 option, which is go monthly. Thereafter, you picked the option that was all in one. And when you picked that, you saw different options: 500 shillings, 1,000 shillings, 2,000 shillings, 5,000 shillings. 2,000 shillings gets you that great stuff, doesn't it? 1,000 minutes talk time, 2,000 SMSs, 17 GB data, free WhatsApp. What does it mean? You have freedom. That's what you've bought.
Yep.
So you never have to be in a situation where you've run out of airtime. You can't get from point A to point B. You can't call your cab because you've run out of data. Nah. You pay one amount for the whole month and you never run short. All in one with Safaricom. Do it today. Guess what? You could also win 3,000 shillings just because you did. Yeah.
How does one do that?
Well, you subscribe to the all-in-one tariff. You get all the information. Send us a screenshot that you've actually purchased on our DM SpiceFM KE, and Avin could award you 3,000 bob today just because you did.
Avin. AVIN.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Don't put R's and L's.
Okay. So that's all you need to do. Our next guest is seated right here. He is the governor of Murang'a County, Dr. Irungu Kang'ata. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning.
Good to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Karibu tena sana.
Asante.
It's been a while.
Thank you.
Murang'a is far.
Yes.
Welcome. I see you've won something written, Inua Mkulima.
Yes, indeed.
What is that about?
We have a program which targets farmers, and therefore this is like the catchphrase for those programs. That includes a subsidy program for mango farming and milk. If you are Murang'a milk or mango farmer, there's a card we give you called Inua Mkulima, like an e-voucher. You go to a supermarket and you redeem farm inputs for your animal husbandry. That is things like milking jerry, animal feed, salt, for free.
Okay.
But you use that card now to redeem those set of goods. If you are hungry, for instance, you also get certain goods like flour, milk, flour.
With the same voucher?
Yeah. Bar soap, such. Up to a limit of the money that the county has put into your card. And the rationale is to incentivize farmers to join cooperatives, because the reason why farmers do not get the value of their effort is low prices. So when you aggregate them, you leverage on their numbers, you push up their prices. But also this program has a new element we call support to maize farmers. Maize farming is a food security issue, and the county of Murang'a has come up with several interventions to boost maize farming. We are providing free certified hybrid seeds to 57,000 farmers, plus free fertilizer to farmers. And from today up to 12th of October, we shall be distributing that consignment in all wards. The distribution starts today.
Well, you'll tell us more about it. Very good. Very good. Our brother City is not in today. Hasn't been in since last week. He's taken some few days off, but he'll be back. But in his absence, he told us the proverbs to give our guests when they come. This week, the proverbs will be from Senegal in West Africa. Have you been to Senegal?
No.
Yeah. I hear you should go to Senegal.
You should.
And you said Senegal has like a country that it has like fully...
It's almost surrounded. It almost surrounds the Gambia. Yeah, but then Gambia has a coastline, so it juts in and out.
So but for the coastline,
it would have swallowed Zambia the way South Africa swallowed Lesotho.
Bas.
Yeah.
The proverb for today, listen to it and give us your interpretation. It is better to travel alone than with a bad companion. It is better to travel alone than with a bad companion.
Yes, so...
What's the interpretation of that proverb?
That it makes all the sense for you to do things singularly as opposed to bringing bad company that can bring you down. Yes.
But how do you identify the company that can bring you down?
Skill sets, reputation of that other person, experience of that other person. It all makes sense for you to seek counsel of people who are more sharper than you, so that you get their wisdom.
Those who
let's
will
say,
help
for
you.
instance, let's say you want to do an intervention in healthcare. For instance, as a governor, I'm not a medic, so I need to get counsel from doctors. I would imagine that is a rationale.
Okay. So I'd imagine the same kind of thing that you thought of when you created, a revenue board and an economic council of advisors who have been helping you. And with that, the other day you credited them for the financial performance of the county government, right?
Yes, Waswahili husema kuishi kwingi
kuona mengi.
These fellas came from Murang'a when they were young. They went to Nairobi. They conquered the city. We are talking of likes of SK Masharia, Jinambaru, Peter Munga. So we thought that we need to take advantage of their wisdom to help us push up Murang'a ahead. We are happy that when we joined Murang'a County Government, we used to collect about 500 million own source revenue. But within 1 year and a half or so, that has been doubled to 1.1 billion Kenya shilling.
Okay, that's very interesting. We saw the numbers, Governor, and we're looking at double plus in a year, right? A little over a year?
Yes.
So the very simple question is how?
2 ways or 3 ways. Number one is to motivate your employees because they are the one who actually do the collection. So we had a seminar that we called it the revenue conference. And we told them the rationale or why Murang'a needs to collect more money, which is one, to execute various developmental programs for the people. Secondly, currently Murang'a has a huge workforce. We pay our salaries about 46% of our total budget against the law, which should be 35%.
You're breaking the law?
Yes, we are. We ought to fire people so that we reach the 50.
Or you grow your budget.
Or we grow your budget. So to circumvent that, I told them, you guys, I don't want to send you guys home. I know you have families. The best way is to grow our budget. So I think they got the message. We also converted their terms of employment. 90% of them were casuals. They did not have letter of appointments. So we give them contracts. Now they're able to access loans. Maybe that motivated them to collect more. Secondly, automation. We have about 30 revenue streams: parking fees, markets, cess, hospital, lands. We have been able to automate all of them. So we are able to track county revenue in real time. You people pay at their convenience. You find a person can pay for, let's say, parking before even he arrives to Murang'a town or wherever. And that has made collection of revenue a little bit better.
Okay.
Finally, we don't overtax our people. The last time Murang'a had a finance act was 2018. We don't have any new finance act, meaning for the last how many years? That's about 6 years. Murang'a County has not increased its revenue. Its charges, whether it is single business permit. So, and also what we told the people is at least to come up with programs where you're able to see where your money goes to. Whether it's Smart City program, this Kangata Care or this Inua Mkulima. Once people see that correlation, we suspect maybe they'll be more than willing to support the county.
It sounds almost mysterious, Governor, and many would wonder that it's actually possible for you to use the resources that are available, but just tweaking a few things here and there, and actually not raise taxes, but grow an economy, whether it's at the county level, whatever level it is, that you can grow your economy, because that's what we're talking about. When we're talking about increasing revenue, what you've done is that you've grown the economy of the county. And it's possible to have done that without raising taxes to the extent where it's throttling the people.
Yes, but of course there are problems, and you also highlight challenges.
Please do.
Number one, these systems are internet-based. That means whenever there are internet challenges, you don't collect money, or even systems.
When systems are down.
When they are down, the county stops, literally. And some of these systems are also, they have a direct correlation with human life. So a good example is our automation of our hospital systems. So whenever they go down, you are jeopardizing people's lives. We are thinking of how to mitigate that, including creating what we call redundancy systems. When one system is down, the other one is up. Also, hosting those services in clouds helps, because rarely will you find the system going down when it's hosted in clouds. Such efforts. Also, being technologically driven, then there's some people who might not be able to interact with the same system very well. Our grannies. So that then means we have to constantly keep on training our people, having officers who can shepherd those who are unable to interact with the systems. So challenges exist.
There are many challenges.
1.2
billion shillings raised as own source revenue, right? Up from 500 million. But what is the projected revenue capacity of Murang'a County, say by the Commission on Revenue Allocation?
They talk of 3 billion.
3B.
Yes, they talk of 3 billion. Yes.
Do you agree? Now that you've served as governor now for 2 years, when you look at Murang'a, do you think Murang'a has the capacity to actually raise 3 billion shillings?
Yes, but you really need a lot to do a deeper conversation. One of the assumptions inherent in that projection is the idea that you will add extra levies, people will pay more, but that's a difficult conversation you have with your residents, because people can fight back. You saw Gen Z. So I think that's an area, it's a conversation we really need to have with Murang'a people.
What's your projection for this year?
About 1.35, an extra 150 million. We tend to go in a conservative manner. We prefer we hit the target. We really like having what we call a deficit budget. Deficit budget means you project, let's say 10, but you
raise 8.
You raise 8. So that then means that's 200 million is a deficit. So we prefer the opposite. You indicate 10, you raise 10 or 11.
And that's working for you so far. These programs that you're running, for example, the one that just told us about the Inua Mkulima, right? In even the previous government, there were farmer programs that were going on. So are you saying that you did away with those other programs that were going on before and now you have started this one? Or are there elements of the previous farmer support programs that you're carrying on?
It's both new and continuation. The milk and the mango are newish to a certain extent, particularly the way we have structured them. For instance, but of course we do have continuity. Good example of continuity is the Maragua milk factory. It was started by the previous regime. It collapsed some months to the election under huge debts. We revived it, but we took a new philosophy that is not wise for governments to do business. So we gave it to the farmers cooperative to run it on our behalf. So it has been revived. Secondly, this maize program used to be there, but it has been retweaked. One, previously they used to buy the maize from private people. Currently, we are buying this maize from government. Simlo Seed and Kenya Agricultural and Research, and Livestock Research Organization, KALO. Yeah, that's the difference. And also, we want to commercialize the engagement. We have looked. We believe the reason why Kenyan farmers are poor is because they produce things they either consume without selling, or they have no connection with the industry. The day we will be able to create a connection between a farmer and the market, the industry, particularly the value addition entities, farmers' incomes will rise. So we have been entering into MOUs with various manufacturers of agricultural products. We tell them, give us a guarantee price, then we mobilize. That way, they get what they want, which is the produce, and then the farmers' income go up. Because farmers know now, this is what we shall get after we produce. So, for instance, in the mango, we entered into an MOU with a company called Kevian in Thika, producers of pick and peel. Also, Sane Mango in Kambiti, Murang'a. They give us a guaranteed price of 16 bob per kg. Previously, Murang'a mangoes used to be sold at about 2 bob or 3 bob per kg.
Wow.
So that's a rise up to 16 bob. Currently, we got another company from Machakos called VATS, which has told us it will give us 18 bob per kg. When it comes to maize, we have an MOU with Joy Millers, who do Kafagara brand in Kirinyaga. They are giving us a guarantee of 3,500. So we think if we are able to achieve this, we can help mitigate rural poverty. Yeah.
And then you said this is by mobilizing farmers into cooperatives.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So how many cooperatives are there in Murang'a now? And how many farmers do they represent?
Cooperatives are just too many because it depends on which value chain. Yeah. Let's say, for instance, in the milk industry, we have the largest single union, which is called MCCU, but it has about 32 small cooperatives under it. Then you have another large milk cooperatives. We call them the Big Five. So there are many cooperatives. Yes.
Are all farmers now in cooperatives? Going by your assessment, by how they're getting the cards?
Definitely no. Some people sell to private people, to brokers. But to us, that's neither here or there. The logic should be push up the price of the cooperative.
Right.
Even the brokers will be compelled to hike
to compete at
that level. A good example is in the mango sector. When we formed the Lower Murang'a cooperative, we pushed up the price to about 16 bob. The brokers also have to do the same. Same way with in the milk sector. And now cooperatives are now getting more milk compared to the situation before, because now people are saying, if I join a cooperative, I'm going to get this benefit. Same way with maize, they are huge brokers. We suspect that they will aggregate farmers. The price of maize will rise. Then the broker can remain, but he will be competing at the county price level. Yeah.
Interesting, I don't hear you or the previous governor talking a lot about the cash crop of the traditional cash crop of Murang'a, coffee, tea.
And I think for a reason.
Why?
Those are statutory crops. Statutory means they are highly regulated here in Nairobi by national legislations. And therefore, the extent through which a county government can intervene is a little bit constrained. We have KTDA that handles tea. coffee. Also, you have many boards here in Nairobi. So it is mainly, yes, it's an agricultural crop, but highly regulated. And therefore, you find we can only do as much as a county government.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you look at it, is it clear who is taking the reins? Is the county very clearly taking the reins of centrality now and saying, look, this is the way in which things would be done, and everybody is more or less falling in line? Or is the county giving the people an opportunity to say, okay, what is it that you do? Let us see how we can support you. Which trajectory does it take?
I think it's both. It's both. There has to be leadership on the part of the county, but it's also a constitutional imperative of public participation and people involvement. We synergize. Yes.
Okay.
Let's take a break. We come back and continue, and we will talk about Kangata Care. All right. So we are now looking at rolling out universal health coverage across the country, and we've heard about what you've been doing with Kangata Care for a while. We want to understand how Kangata Care is working and how it will fit with the bigger picture countrywide. 29 minutes after 8, coming up to past. Our guest is Governor Dr. Irungu Kangata, the governor of Murang'a County. He's here. We're talking about revenue collection, supporting farmers, and all the things that he's been doing. And Kangata Care, taking that as a case study to see how does universal access to healthcare work at county level? How does it then mirror with the national plans?
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Seal the deal every day with the all-in-one plan from Safaricom. Get data, minutes, and SMS all-in-one on-the-go monthly bundle plan from Safaricom. Tune into the Situation Room every Monday to Friday as we unpack the all-in-one monthly plan from Safaricom. Safaricom is for you.
SpiceFM. Spice up your life.
Unbeatable deals at Peppino's Pizza, Kimathi Street. Get this. 2 large pizzas plus a 1.25-liter soda for just 1,500 Kenya shillings, or 2 medium pizzas and a 1.25-liter soda for just 1,200 Kenya shillings. Available every Tuesday and Thursday. Chicken lovers, we got you covered too. Enjoy 2 crispy chicken pieces, chips, and a 350 ml soda for just 500 shillings. Call 0728-261-875 or order online at peppinospizza.co.ke. Join us for mouth-watering treats all month long. Peppino's Pizza at 8.
Spice FM, Malindi.
Ready to take your farm to the next level? The Farm Kenya Annual Mkulima Expo in Kitale is the place to be. Circle the dates, 27th and 29th of September at Ndura Grounds. This year's game-changing theme, safe harvesting and storage, bigger profits. Get hands-on with cutting-edge tech, unlock the secrets of safe storage, and dive into farm-to-fork innovations. Rub shoulders with top players from seed companies, mechanization pros, storage experts, and more, all under one roof. Farmers, MSMEs, researchers, investors, this event is tailor-made for you. It's your shot to elevate your farm and maximize your gains. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Be part of the action at the Farm Kenya Expo. Brought to you by Farm Kenya. Powering the future of farming, transforming lives.
The weather with Spice
All right,
FM.
looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning, we'll see highs of 23 and lows of 13. It's 14 and sunny in Nakuru, highs of 25 and lows of 13. 15 and sunny conditions in Nyeri with highs of 24, and sunny at 15 in Eldoret with highs of 24. Mombasa sunny at 25 with highs of 30, while Malindi at 27 is sunny going to highs of 30. 23 and sunny in Kisumu with highs of 30, while Kakamega at 21 is sunny going to highs of 28. Kampala is cloudy at 20 with highs of 27, while Dar es Salaam at 25 is sunny with highs of 31. Johannesburg at 8 degrees, sunny with highs of 19 and lows of 17, while Mogadishu at 27 is sunny with highs of 30. Addis Ababa at 18 is sunny with highs of 22 and lows of 9, while Lagos is cloudy at 25, we'll see highs of 30 and highs of 33, and a mostly cloudy Kinshasa at 23. Taking a peek at Langata Road this morning as you get into the city. It's heavy coming in from the Magadi Road junction out towards Barracks and then out onto Uhuru Highway on this side. Raila Odinga Way is taking some of that traffic through towards Valley Road, and that is a trickle into the city. Naivasha Road has quite some traffic on it this morning, and it's going towards Ngong Road. As you get to the junction, that will dissipate, but it's heavy if you're coming in from there. On the Thika Superhighway from Garden City, very heavy coming through towards Survey, as well as on Kiambu Road. A couple of lanes as you're trying to get towards Muthaiga Square. Still very busy on the Eastern Bypass. You've got bumper-to-bumper traffic as you pass the AP Training College junction out towards North Airport Road. We are still in traffic hour proper this morning, and it looks like it'll be that way for a while. Find a good route or find an escape route. Let us know. SpiceFM KE on X. Hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Murang'a County, that's what we're discussing this morning with the Governor, Dr. Irungu Kang'ata Wabarua. He's here. He's our guest this morning. Ndu.
All right. Looking at Kang'ata Care, it's something that you touted a while back, and very intrigued to understand exactly how that works, because somehow you're able to get people in the county under care and they can go into hospital and be treated. How is this working?
First, we prepared a policy that was passed by the Assembly, and the policy now indicates the logic, the rationale, and the structuring of the program. Basically, every year we announce a date to the public and we go and recruit poor people who join the program. And the criteria mainly is vulnerability. So it tends to be uptaken mainly by the elderly. Once you join it, there are a set of benefits that you get. One is inpatient and outpatient free services in public and private hospitals that are aligned to NHIF. Secondly, free optical. Thirdly, free dental care in public facilities. Fourthly, if you are referred outside the country for treatment, you are paid 500,000 Kenya shilling. If you pass on or your dependent passes on, you are entitled to Kenya shillings 100,000 as last expense. Also, emergency evacuation by an ambulance that is affiliated to NHIF. This the first year we had 20,000 households. This year we have 40,000 households. Assuming one household has about 3 or 4 dependents, that's about 160,000 persons who are under this program. Basically, that's how it works.
Okay.
But let me also clarify. We entered into an MOU with NHIF detailing all those points I've stated here.
Okay. So it's benefiting 40,000 households. These are the ones that you've registered as the needy ones?
Yes.
40,000 needy families?
Yes.
How do you identify? What's the criteria for identification of need?
We usually indicate in our poster when you are recruiting the criteria, which is mainly it's weighted. We come up with a weighting. Let's say if you are an orphan, you get 20 marks. If you have disability, you get 20 marks. If you don't, you get 10. Yeah. The other weight will be diseases. Do you have chronic non-communicable diseases like hypertension, diabetes, mental illness? You get, let's say, 40 marks. If you don't, you get 20 marks.
Disability.
So disability, such.
Okay.
But and then we recruit per primary school. The idea is to ensure equity. So we tell people to go to their nearest primary schools on a date that we have indicated. Then we give each school should recruit a certain amount of persons. You'll find, let's say, Murang'a is about 600 primary school. So for 40,000 slots divided by 600, I don't know how much is that?
We can find that out.
So,
80.
80. So you say we will on average, each school should give us 8 households. But the truth is, the last time when we were doing recruitment, we wanted to recruit about 30,000 based on our budget, but the people who came out were 43,000. We decided to recruit everyone. So no one
is left behind.
No one was left behind. We said we will maneuver to get resources elsewhere, but the point is no one failed except those who are knocked out on technical grounds. Technical grounds means the people who came for recruitment, so we had a 43,000 long list. Then we took those names to NHIF for onboarding. We realized some, for instance, don't have the ID is incorrect, or you're already on NHIF without you knowing. There are some people who are in NHIF without their knowledge. You see, NHIF, the way it was structured, it used to have special schemes that are paid for by the governments. I think there was one that I don't know was targeting, I don't know who. Chiefs were told to collect names. So those names were onboarded. Already. And the government used to pay for them. But it appears people never used to know they are actually on NHIF. And the reason was, one, poor public education by those governmental schemes. Secondly, NHIF stopped giving out cards, physical cards to Wananchi. So people, you can be on NHIF, you don't.
But you don't have,
because you don't have. So as we flipped that logic and give our people a physical card, then we knew that once people get a physical card, that will boost utilization rate. Yeah.
Has it changed that utilization, the hospital visits?
No,
on account of now that you are covered, are people's health-seeking behavior different?
Yeah, one, of course, definitely people are happier because you see now they know they are well covered. But of course, people don't go to seek medical services on account that they really want. They only go to when they are actually sick. However, there are people before who you never used to go to hospital on account they can't afford. So now this definitely removes the cost barrier to seeking Medicare. But it also brought a challenge, which is people seeking medical services at our level 4 hospitals increased. Murang'a, before we came into office, immediately we came to the office, it used to record 700 persons outpatient visits per day. Currently, we are doing 1,500 per day.
Seen and treated.
Seen either. These people never used to come to the hospital. They were just sick and staying at home. That's one possibility. Or because we also automated our health records, maybe there are people who used to come to the hospital, they were not recorded, and they would get service and go home. Now that we are now able to,
you're capturing it.
We are not capturing that, either of that too. But we think there's an element that people used to get sick and not seek service. But of course, now that brings a new challenge that now you have to look for more money to treat those people. The HR component, the medicine, So it has a negative element or a challenge. Let me not use say negative, I say a challenge. You'd imagine 1,500 people seeking services.
You've increased demand, so you must meet that demand.
You must meet that demand. Yeah.
What does it mean then in this transition? Now that NHIF is no more, and you had signed deals with NHIF, have you signed deals with Social Health Authority?
That's a very sharp question. That's a very sharp question, and I think one of the most important questions we have dealt with, we need to think about. When we were signing that, our current MOU, I think it was in December last year, we anticipated problems. We inserted a clause that indicated that once these changes come into force, we will seek to revisit the MOU. And coming into force means the effective date, the start date of SHIF. It was shifted. It is now set to be 1st of October 2024. The next 2 weeks also. 1 week, by the way, from now.
Yep, it's next week.
Yes. So last week we went to see NHIF management. We told them, now look, you guys, are
dead.
We have a problem here.
The funeral is next week.
Yeah. Now what do we do? There is, in their understanding, they wanted us to continue with Kangata Care up to 31st of December 2024. On the basis there's a clause in the new law of NHIF that seems to say any
existing
arrangement can be saved up to 31st. So they were telling her, you guys, you pay your premiums.
You're sorted.
You're sorted up to 31st of December. But we are not minded to agree to that for several reasons. One, SHIF is cheaper than Kangata Care or the older NHIF. So you are telling me to pay. We currently Kangata Care pays for one household about per month 820 Kenya shilling. You know, these are what we call enhanced covers. But SHIF says for poor people, indigents, they should pay 300 Kenya shilling. So on what basis do you want me to pay for the same service? At 820, which is already in place.
For less.
For less. I don't understand. Does it make sense?
So will there be a shift?
Yeah.
To SHIF?
I wrote a letter. I think last week I told them, you guys migrate my people from Kangata Care to SHIF.
So what happens to the program?
It continues. You see, what are they? You know, SHIF. The philosophy of SHIF is that everyone should be treated equal.
Yep.
We don't have two sets of benefits or beneficiaries. So it's like amalgamation. So we are arguing, and by the way, national government, they used to have a civil servant specialized scheme. It has shifted out of NHIF. NHIF owns staff. They were under a certain specialized scheme.
They have their own scheme.
It is also been, it is ending by 1st of October.
So all of them are being brought back now
to SHIF. So I'm saying the same logic. SHIF. You shift my people to SHIF. I pay at a cheaper.
The new rate.
The new rate of
300 per household.
Per household.
Because it is working.
Well, whatever. It is the law. Why, you see now, surely, assume I continue paying 800 and 20. What am I paying for? What specialized?
There's nothing
service?
Extra that you get.
What extra am I getting? There's nothing. There's nothing. Doesn't make sense. There is nothing. So I told them, you shift my 40,000 households to SHIF. I pay you SHIF charges.
As far as you know, with just less than 10.
Let me also just mention, SHIF will give almost, in fact, will give better benefits package.
It's more benefits.
Except last expense. It doesn't have a last expense component. So that single component, we have externalized it. We did a tender, and a company called Britam won it. We are waiting for the standstill period to end. We sign off. By the way, they have promised us heaven. Because you see, apart from the 100,000 that we shall be giving to members of this scheme, they are proposing to give us welfare packages. That is, if you're under Kangata Care, going forward, if you get a child, you get 10,000. I think if you marry, I don't know, 25,000.
Yes. This is what the company is proposing.
Yes.
Britam.
Yes, if you get a child, if you get a child, 10,000. If you marry, 10,000. If you have a child going to school, high school, you give 25,000 school fees.
And still, in the event of death, 100,000.
100,000. That is the proposal.
For any member of the household.
Yes, any member.
And people have to do what in order to get into this?
Nothing.
Just be
It's just the county that's going to pay.
The county is doing this.
Nothing. Nothing.
There are less than 10 days to go, Governor, for the shift to shift. Now, of course, you need to see that your health facilities in Murang'a, from level 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 5, you have level 5, right?
Yes.
That all of them are then now ready and integrated to the migration, so that when your people go to seek health services in any of these facilities, they will get the services. Is that happening?
Yes, as we are ready. I think it's the Ministry of Health that we are hoping it is ready.
Is SHIF ready?
I don't know. I really don't. I hope so.
Okay.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope they are ready.
Maybe I should ask it at Council of Governor level, right? This transition from beginning of next month, how is it going to work? Because all these facilities are actually managed by the county governments.
Practically, services will run. What might tax our minds in the worst case scenario is the funding. Who pays for our services? So I think Kenya should not panic to the extent that SHIF or even HIF does not offer medical services. It is the counties that have doctors, that have medicine, that have all those things. Probably I would worry if the private sector now refuses to offer services on account that SHIF is yet to be settled well. So us will continue offering service. The question that we might grapple with is who compensates us for this service. Yes.
What conversation have you had with the national government? Because there are 3 tiers in service provision now with the Social Health Authority. There is the primary healthcare bit that is 100% taxpayer funded, where you're telling somebody pick a village in Murang'a, Kamasharia, and they go to a dispensary there. They should go to a dispensary in Kamasharia and go back home.
Treated without paying a dime.
Yeah. If you are traversing Murang'a and you're involved in an accident, you should go to a facility and the emergency care cover should sort you out. Again, taxpayer funded. Are those aligned?
We had a meeting with them, I think it was last week, when and they seem to be suspending some of those benefits. I think the one for emergency seems to have been suspended. They want a more timelines to be able to transit into that area. So probably we wait and see what happens. But it appears the core, the main package is ready. And from where we see it, and I would imagine all counties have the same philosophy, we should not create a notion among the people that if SHIF is not ready, services will grind to a halt. What I would suspect might happen if SHIF is not ready is services are offered, counties are now fighting with SHIF for reimbursement. I think that would be the worst case scenario. We fight with the element of reimbursement.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a piece of legislation called the Facilities Improvement Fund, right? That says that now we are ring fencing money within facilities so that it can improve those facilities. Facilities are run by counties. Our county is ready. And for example, is Murang'a doing that? Is Murang'a ring fencing money from specific facilities so that it goes on to improve those same facilities?
Yes, we are. We came up with a system, an automated platform, which basically is with all our 8 hospitals. they cannot procure through that system. So meaning if you raise a requisition, it goes to the platform. Then there are certain approval levels from the Director of Procurement, Chief Officer, Health, and then an LP is generated and goods are delivered. So far, it seems things are working well. We have seen several things. Number one, revenues have gone up because now the people who are heading facilities are a little bit better motivated because they know whatever they are generating remains in the hospital. Also, the automation has made it a little bit simpler for things to get to the hospital. So from where we sit, things look better. A good example is Murang'a Hospital.
Okay. How much does Murang'a County owe KEMSA?
Let me first finish that.
Okay.
So Murang'a used to generate, I think, per month about 1.6 million Kenya shilling.
Murang'a Hospital?
Yes. Currently, we are now doing 10 million, headed to 11 million.
From 1.6?
Yes. That money is now retained as the hospital or the main hospital.
It stays in hospital and continues operating?
Yeah. Same way you find like Kenneth Matiba, he is now generating about 1 million Kenya shilling. Maragua used to perform very poorly, about 1 million Kenya shillings per month. We are now doing 4 million. So the point is, I think those people who superintend those hospitals, now they have better cash flow to deal with the problems that arise in a hospital. We are no longer controlling that money at the center. How much we owe KEMSA? Last time I checked, it was about 19 million. But the figure keeps on fluctuating. But we are among the best counties in terms of owing less to KEMSA. Yeah, but of course, I'm not saying 19 million debt is good. No. We need to clear that debt. But we have been strong supporters of KEMSA. But once you request KEMSA for drugs, probably they will be able to feel 60%, 40% they will not be able to feel. So we have engaged a Catholic Church-owned supplier called Meds. So Meds is able these days now to plug into the system and be able to supply us drugs at our hospitals. Of course, there are also instances where we get it from private, but that tends to be the last resort. So the first is usually KEMSA. If KEMSA, Meds. If Meds, private. Yes.
Okay. There used to be talk of a lot of people who would leave the dormitory counties of Nairobi, Murang'a being one of them, to come to Nairobi for specialist care. Since Kangata Care came into place, do we see that specialist care now is available and can be operated within the county and you don't have to leave to get it done?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Let me start with no. Nairobi State retains the uniqueness of having the best healthcare in some areas. Take, for instance, cancer management. I think definitely Murang'a needs to work on that. I see a lot of people coming to, let's say, Texas Cancer Center in Nairobi with the card of Kangata Care. We usually get the reports. So quite a number of our patients come to Texas or KU Hospital or Kenyatta seeking those very specialized care. Yes, but not because of Kangata Care per se, because of other factors. Like, for instance, Murang'a has introduced something we call telesurgery. Telesurgery means you can now be operated in Murang'a by a surgeon, but there are other doctors who are helping when they are far away through the internet. So a doctor has a gadget fixed, and when that gadget is able to look at the operation room, and the other stakeholders who are able to contribute to that from far, that then boosts the presence of expertise in Murang'a. Yes, also to the extent of also telemedicine. Telemedicine is the lodge. We have introduced telemedicine in about 13 rural health facilities. Today, another 10 will start doing the same. That will be about 23. Patients with these chronic ailments used to travel all the way from the rural Murang'a to Murang'a level 5, because that's where you find, let's say, a cardiologist to get treatment. And that costs you about 1,000 to reach Murang'a. Then you have to eat lunch. You lose a whole day.
It's a cost.
It's a cost. So we came up with telemedicine. The idea is when you are far, let's say in Kisumu, you go to the nearest facility, you talk to a doctor who is in Murang'a. It gives you that care. Then you don't have to travel to Murang'a. Probably we think if we upscale that, we'll now get to the expertise in Nairobi. Maybe even India, maybe years to come, maybe even in America, years to come. And also, yes, to the extent we have some partnership with some European doctors in Maragua. There's a doctor, Dr. Victoria is a Spanish doctor who lives in Maragua Hospital. He has an organization which brings European doctors, and they offer specialized surgeries in that hospital biannually. They do plastic surgery. So they were there from, I think, from Europe 1 week ago.
Okay. Governor, we thank you very much for coming. I wanted to ask you a question about, the relationship with the national government, particularly in the delayed disbursement of funds and how that affects service delivery at county level. But that's a conversation for next time.
Thank you.
Asante for coming.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Irongo Kangata is the governor of Murang'a County. He's been our guest. Keep it here for more. In the next hour, we talk about the UN General Assembly.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Obaga. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has expressed the need for timely allocation of county funds in order to protect devolution. Unlike his colleague from Trans Nzoia who recommends devolved governments to be abolished, Sakaja said there is a possibility of the county getting at least 50% of its allocation on time to pay workers as well as implement other projects. He has also explained the need for the county to set strategies to collect its revenue.
Kama Governor Trans Nzoia, watu wangu sijawalipa mshahara kwa mwezi miwili sasa. Mwezi mmoja nimeenda nikakopa pesa kwa bank kulipa mshahara. Counties hazijapewa pesa, msidanganywe. Afgani kama sio ingekuwa ni serious, tungekuwa nimefunga counties. Shut them down. Hata ma MCA mnaona hawa. Watu wanamkia asubuhi kwenda kwa MCA. MCA hana pesa, hana mshahara, kwanza ni subiri miezi 4 hawajapata mshahara. They have got no money. Wanapata abandoned projects, pending bills. We have to be serious. Mbona wafanyikazi wa national government wote mpaka ma MPs wamelipa mshahara?
County own source revenue. Vile mmesema tumeongeza the highest amount. County zetu ziko tofauti. Kuna county ambazo kukota hela ama ushuru ni ngumu. For Nairobi pia ni ngumu, lakini we are barely surviving. Lakini imekuwa one quarter because financially inaanza July, August na September, bado hela hazijafika kwa counties. COG walinituma last week kwa niaba ya governors wote, nikakutana na Waziri Mbadi pamoja na vice chair wa COG. Tukakubaliana kwamba inawezekana counties kupata pesa.
In addition, Sakaja has continued to defend the program across schools, that is Dishi na County, pointing out that 17 kitchens have already been built.
Basari tumepandisha from ilikuwa milioni 4 kwa kila ward kwa mwaka, sasa ni milioni 7, 3 times a year. First term 2.5, second term 2.5, third term 2 million. Tumesupport watoto zaidi ya 124,000 na scholarships. Tumejenga zile jikoni 17. Tumeweka mataa 10,000 Nairobi. Mambo inaendelea pole pole, but ni hizo hela ambazo zilikuwa zimepotea. Imagine kulikuwa na 25% ya watoto wetu walikuwa hawaendi shule, ama wakitumwa lunch time hawarudi juu wanapata nyumbani hakuna kitu. Sasa wana furaha, enrollment imepanda by 34%.
Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka will today present a case in court to terminate the contract between the government and Adani company that aims to take over the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Kalonzo also aims to stop Adani's plans to be awarded a contract to build transmission systems where 1.3 billion shillings has been allocated to finance the project. According to Kalonzo, the agreement is full of secrets which puts the nation at risk. It should be noted that Adani made it clear that the Kenyan government was paid 6.4 billion shillings to approve its proposal, whereas the Kenya Airports Authority took about 17 days to approve its proposal to renovate and lease JKIA for 30 years.
And I have nothing personal against the man called Adani or the group of Adani Holdings. I have nothing personal. But I think they should themselves have done due diligence. Kujua ni nchi gani hii ambao wanaingia. Kenya is not just any other. This is not a banana republic. This is a country whose constitution says there will not be secret dealings when you are dealing with public property. Hii ni nchi ambayo inaamini that you cannot do these things without public participation. Niko kwa mahakama kusimamisha ndani state capture.
Tumuendelee kumulika wezi and providing oversight against this corrupt government. Tusiwe tena ati tunatumiwa sisi kufanya the dirty work of this dysfunctional government.
And finally, religious leaders in Siaya County now demand public participation in the proposed tax regulation which targets churches and non-governmental organizations. Led by the Archbishop of the Church of Christ in Africa, Patrick Nyagude, the church leader said the government should subject the proposed law to public participation to get the feelings of the Kenyans before they can proceed to implement it. Ligar said churches such as the CCA do not have huge investments that can be taxed, noting that the little income that they have been raising through tithe and offerings is often ploughed back through charity work. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
At a few minutes after 9 o'clock, let's take a quick look at what the traffic looks like. We're still in traffic hour and it's still pretty busy in Nairobi. We're looking at some of it still on the Thika Superhighway and also on Kiambu Road, Lidumuru Road, and some of that coming in from Spring Valley, Lower Kabete, still pretty busy. Let's take a quick look at what's happening coming off Waiyaki Way, and that's heading in from James Gishuru. A little bit of traffic there, but nothing too crazy. So it's good. Inbound traffic, not too bad. Outbound traffic, I think we got rid of that a while ago. Langata Road still continues to be busy, but it's all manageable for now. The Thika Superhighway really still giving heavy through towards your service lanes and then out towards Survey. And that's going to continue for some time. Ring Road Ngara is taking off some of that coming in from Juja Road. So let's keep an eye on this. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Hiya, we're on to the final hour of The Situation Room today. Thank you for keeping it locked. We are glad that you're tuned in. Are people doing like that, Avin? Are people sending screenshots of, them subscribing to the all-in-one package by Safaricom and showing us how much they spent, and then they stand a chance of winning 3,000 shillings? Avin, yes? No? Yes? Yes, they're doing so. Okay, so keep doing that because Avin is going to be picking somebody to win 3,000 shillings at the end of the show today. 3,000 bob. All you need to do is go
*544# from your phone. you will see option number 4, go monthly. You will click on 4 and then you will see all-in-one. All-in-one will give you many options, 500, 1,000, 2,000. The one we wanted to look for is the one for 2,000 shillings. And guess what you get because of that?
Yeah.
1,000 shillings.
1,000 shillings talk time.
1,000 minutes of talk.
Minutes.
2,000 SMSs. 17 GB data. Finally got that right. And free WhatsApp. All of this through the 30 days for that amount that you're going to spend. So you know what happens? You will never be talking to me, Eric, and then you will just hear TTT and say, let me call you back, let me top up. I say, no, you don't have to do that. The embarrassment will no longer be at your doorstep. You know, you can send a message and you will not see later, and then people are waiting for you, and then you come back to your phone later and you say, this message did not go. It can never be you. With this all-in-one, it can never be you, my friend.
This sorts you out completely.
Kabisa.
Yeah? Our guest, Dr. Edgar Githua, you hear that story?
I hear you.
So,
I hear you.
You know that embarrassment of when you're talking to somebody on the phone and you're like, let me call you back.
We've all been there.
Because you're
we've all been there. A crucial call.
Yeah. At that very moment. And you're wondering, okay, so now, how does this portray me? Safaricom says, avoid such small embarrassments. Okay? Buy once, the all-in-one package. You spend whatever amount you think you fit in your band, depending on your needs. And once you do that, you get data, you get minutes, you get SMS, you get WhatsApp.
Okay.
Yeah? So you're sorted for 30 days.
Yeah, sounds like a good deal.
Yeah. And then the 30 days again, renew. Buy another one. If you discover, I'd started with 500, and I finished those 500 before the 30 days are over.
Yeah.
Because there's some things that you may find that you finished, depending on your habits. You may find it's your data that you've malizared before, or the minutes that you've malizared before, or the SMSs that you know, there are people who just SMS. Constantly.
Yeah.
You're sorted.
Yeah.
You're sorted. Also remember, very many of these USSD services actually are costing you something on SMS.
Definitely.
Right?
Every time.
So you're thinking 2,000 SMSs, why? How many times do you do start or something?
Yeah. It's true.
That's money.
That's money.
That's money. Yeah. So welcome, Dr. Githua.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah.
It means that the world has peace.
At least, let's hope so.
Okay.
But not really, yeah. I get you.
Dr. Edgar Githua is an international relations, peace and conflict researcher and a security analyst. He's our guest because we are talking about what's happening globally. The leaders of the world are converging in New York, our president included, and they are talking about world peace and the future and harmonious coexistence and all those other things that they talk about. The United Nations General Assembly, the 79th edition, is taking place this week in New York. How neutrality can lead to economic and humanitarian crises in Africa. I'll welcome you with the day's proverb, courtesy of CT. Today, this week, the proverbs will be from Senegal. Today's proverb, give us your interpretation of it.
Yeah.
It is better to travel alone than with a bad companion. It is better to travel alone than with a bad companion. Kwanza kama unapanda mlima.
That is, it's no pun intended. Exactly. Yeah, that's a good proverb. It's true because there are people who are vision killers. You have a dream, you have a destiny you want to get to, and if you have the wrong companion, they actually become destiny killers because they keep discouraging you from taking challenges that probably you feel it's time for you to take. They keep watering down whatever you're thinking of doing. So sometimes the lonely path is the way to success. Because if you have the wrong companion, someone who doesn't bear the same vision that you have, they will definitely pull you down because of their own fears, and fear can be contagious. In fact, the English say misery loves company. So yeah, because they are miserable in their situation, they'll pull you down because they do not want you to go ahead of them. And yeah, I agree with that proverb. You'd rather be alone sometimes to make it in life. Yeah.
This interpretation is about to become a thesis.
Sindio?
Yeah. It's deep, eh?
Sheesh.
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, people can be vision killers sometimes, yeah. There you go.
The United Nations General Assembly is happening.
Yes.
Right? In New York. And so this week we're going to see President standing there and speaking. Does it matter?
Thanks. That's a nice question, Latiff. It does matter. It matters because when the presidents speak, they'll be pretty much giving us the global, it's like the triage of telling us where the globe is and where the world is in terms of global politics, what the main issues are, what the world is grappling with. So you'll have presidents and if you watch those speeches, if you have the time to watch those speeches, and they can be quite long and, tedious, some will be talking about security issues. Some will be talking about climate issues. A majority of them will be talking about reforms at the UN because they feel, especially from the global south, you'll hear African presidents and the global south talking about how the UN system is not fair to the African countries and to the global south. So there'll be a number of issues, but you can expect peace and security, food security to be issues to be talked about. Definitely the Russian-Ukraine invasion will be feature high on the agenda, Israel-Hamas, the Sudan conflict in Africa. There'll be all those things. And of course, we'll also have what reforms are coming into the UN. Where are we at the reform agenda? How is Africa and the global south being given an equal footing in the United Nations? Because it is a big boys club, truth be told.
Is it anything more than a talk shop?
That's a question my students keep asking me in class. Does the UN work for everyone? That's a better way of asking that question. Truth be told, the UN has, let me use a Swahili statement, iko na wenyewe. The UN has big boys. It's a big boys. There are people who own the system. There are people who control the system. And hence, it will be used to further their agenda. In as much as 193 countries each have an equal vote at the General Assembly, there are some countries that are more equal than others within the United Nations system. And that is the truth. That is a bare naked truth. Yeah. So to an extent, some countries will be allowed to come and vent and others will listen, but there'll be some people who will caucus and decide this is the global agenda and whip people quietly behind the scenes until things are moving in a particular way that they want.
Is this across sectors? Because we're looking at UNGA as, of course, the annual meeting of states.
Yeah.
But what you're saying now is that then, number one, it is a talk shop. And number two, there are those who make the decisions about what the globe is going to do, or how, the trajectory that it's going to take.
Yeah.
So it's a global waste of time?
You can't call it that. It is from the UN General Assembly, and over the years, many resolutions, impactful resolutions have come up and really helped. The fact that the world gets to meet together, remember the whole aim of the United Nations, why it was formed was because number one, it was to avoid conflict and world wars, exactly. It was a place to try and give us all an equal footing to try and say the world we want to live in and how we want it to be.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it is not a waste of time. The problem comes in when some agendas are sensitive to the interests of some particular powerful countries. Hence, those agendas are slow punctured or they slow down in those debates. Because, for example, let's take just something, let's take reforms at the UN, where the world keeps on saying, why do we have 5 countries holding veto power and literally controlling the fate of the world on so many issues? Why only 5 countries? Why these particular countries? Why can't we open up that space? And so, the other day, the United States of America said, we are willing to allow African countries to have 2 seats at the Security Council, so long as they do not have veto power. The veto power is everything. So if you give us seats at the Security
So you can
Council,
sit at the table, but you will not eat the meal.
Exactly.
Right.
Your decisions will not have...
But the drumstick is... You can't touch the drumstick.
Yeah, the imondo belongs to somebody else. Yeah. So it's those debates. So
it's counterproductive, or it's counterintuitive to what the United Nations in the very first place was formed to create. Because if we were looking, because yes, indeed, it was to stop, because we were coming out of World War I, World War II, and then, the world came together and said, no, come on, guys, we need to be able to have a place where we do kumbaya at a global level and that we do not have these horrific conflicts that we've seen. But if everybody was supposed to have this neighborhood feel and a place at the table, this now where we say certain people set the agenda, certain nations make the decisions, it's counterproductive to what it was supposed to do in the first place.
Exactly. And that's why you find this global frustration, this wave of global frustration, because countries feel like we will go there, we will vent, we will say whatever it is that we want to say, but are we being listened to? All right? Are our thoughts being taken to account? Are our ideas being taken to account? Why do we have the global north dictating the agenda? Those are some of the debates that are actually outside there. So I will not call it a talk shop. I have not fully given up on it. Mine is just an appeal to, can we have, and I know I'm sounding very idealistic. There's a theory called there's idealism. It's very idealistic to think that the world is equal. All right, that is the place we'd all want to be at. But the truth of the matter is, there are global powers out there that dictate the agenda, and unless things are flowing in their direction, they will pretty much every once in a while, without telling you to your face, slow down the debate or derail the debate, and you will speak and not get to the promised land that you're really looking forward to getting. Yeah.
Let's look at the situation in the globe right now. Okay? So in Europe, they have a conflict.
Exactly.
Russia, Ukraine. In the Middle East, there's that conflict that's going on there. In Africa, we have our conflicts. West Africa, we have issues. The Horn of Africa, we have issues. We have issues around us. Now, are those crises being treated equally? Are they being looked at equally in the lens of the United Nations?
Thank you. In theory, all conflicts should be treated equally, in theory. In practice, we have seen something different. And I'll give you an example. Africa has been suffering from a food crisis, especially because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russian-Ukraine conflict. Now, because of the dire need and the food insecurity Africa has been facing for a long time, when the Russian-Ukraine conflict broke out, a lot of aid that was coming towards Africa started getting diverted towards that conflict, almost showing us that some conflicts are more equal than others. All right? Why the Russian-Ukraine conflict is given a higher preeminence, so to speak, is because of the ripple effects and the global shocks it sends. Russia invades Ukraine, fuel prices of the world go up. We get a food crisis of global proportions all over the world. So we have prices of wheat, soya, fertilizer, shocks all over the world.
Energy crisis.
The energy crisis and all those things. Now Europe gets into an energy crisis. Now Putin, because the European Union is supporting Ukraine, he turns off the gas taps to Europe. So you will find, the world naturally realizes the Russia-Ukraine conflict probably has a bigger impact in the global food chain, the global energy chain, as opposed to a conflict in Africa. And not at the risk of sounding like I'm demeaning it, and I am not. The conflict in Sudan, global powers ask, who is that affecting? Okay, it's creating a refugee crisis in Africa, in the Horn of Africa. But other than that, who else is it affecting? So when they tick those boxes and realize we are still buying and selling, our stock markets are still operating, it will not be given the same attention as the Russia-Ukraine conflict. A conflict in the Middle East, if, for example, the Israel-Hamas conflict spills over outside the borders, the Middle East, what is it known for? Oil. That is another energy crisis the world is looking at. So you'll find, unfortunately, because of some of the geopolitics around this conflict, some conflicts will be ranked higher, or they'll be deemed to be a little bit more important than others because of what the repercussions the world is going to feel. And that is just the way it is. Lives are lives, they are all important, but granted, because of the effects to global powers and the world economy, some parts of the world, if they're in problems, the world really suffers. And that's why I think in the global order and hierarchy of which conflicts are more important, you'll find those ones, a lot of attention being drawn to and a lot of discussions going into trying to stop some of those conflicts.
But don't we see that the real issue here, Doc, is that the conflicts whereby the world's leading powers would have some kind of influence of interest.
Exactly.
Is the ones that would get some attention.
Correct. You're very right. Now, for the Security Council, let's look at the Security Council. And that's a very nice question, too. Because for some agendas to be discussed at the Security Council, they must have the backing of these global powers. Otherwise, your agenda never sees the day. So imagine where you need to get your problem sorted out, and the people who are deciding what we are going to discuss, we are going to solve, let's say, 5 problems per day. If these global powers do not feel your problem touches any of your interests at any given time, it doesn't get airtime.
Or their interests, for that matter.
That's the thing. So it doesn't get airtime. And this is now why people have been clamoring for reforms at the United Nations. We want reforms. We want to have an equal voice. We want all agendas to be equal. We want all parts of the world to be viewed as equal. Yeah, whatever problems are occurring in Africa, in Latin America, in Asia Pacific, they should be equal to what's happening in Europe, in Southeast Europe, in Eastern Europe. That is basically the call.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's unrealistic, isn't it? Like we just said earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unrealistic to expect that they're going to be treated the same way.
You're right, Latiff, to an extent. But if we push, and I'll introduce a new angle, if we push, for example, let me take the African scenario. Africa has realized it has one big asset. Other than our minerals, other than our raw resources, the African vote, the 54 votes we have at the UN, 54, 55 votes that we have at the UN, is now something that these global powers have discovered. Hey, we need those votes. So you'll have the Russia-Africa Summit, China-Africa Summit. We have now all these big powers, Italy-Africa Summit. Now they have realized if we can try and get Africa to back our agenda in global politics. So now we've now become what do we call... We've become we've become nice brides who can be wooed now.
But you see, now that's where the problem again comes. That everybody can see the power of the 54, and the 54 can't see the power of the 54.
Of the 54.
Thank you.
See, that was actually going to be something I was going to touch on.
Yeah.
That when the United Nations came into being, 45, 46, that everybody was, again, having a flower moment. Kumbaya, yes, the world has come together and we form now this club where we can all come and discuss things. And, then we developed a little bit more, and then we started to see conversations about regional bodies coming together, whether you had NATO or OAU or the EU, things like that started coming into conversation. We didn't really have pushback to what many would call a pretentious way of global politics that was now embedded in the UN. We didn't really have pushback to that because people were still dazzled by this new shiny toy that was this group where you could all come to New York, the New York address every now and then.
Yeah.
We started to see the pushback when it was very clear that some kind of state sovereignty was something you could discuss at whatever level. When countries gained their independence and started to see that you could actually build and make and do for yourself, is when we started to see pushback to some of the things that you're talking about and started to push for reforms at the United Nations. So now when nations see that actually we can make a difference, why do we then not see that pushback comes on a glaring level? If 54 African nations are not able, for example, to see the power that they have to not sit at the table, for goodness sake, create their own table that would do much more for this kind of negotiation that we see that happens at UNGA in New York every year.
Yeah.
Are we really playing in global politics, or are we sitting in the audience watching these guys play?
Beautiful question. Remember, when the UN is being formed, African countries are colonies. We are still colonies. So when they are dividing the cake and setting out the agenda, we do not feature. The UN helped African countries to become independent eventually. Of course, it clamored for that. And African states became independent. But we became independent and came to the table to be told, this is the way things are done. This is how it is. Welcome to this club. These are the rules
of the club.
These are the rules of the club. You're the newest member.
Sit in the corner. And
sit there and first learn. And then you've mentioned something called state sovereignty. I'll add something else, state interest. One of the biggest problems with African countries, I would say, is our lack of unity. Even though we have the African Union, we do not allow the African Union to speak for us. You still have African states that want to chart their own agenda, almost independent of the African Union. And I'll give you a good example, and at the risk of some people throwing stones at me later on, I thought there was a gentleman's agreement, or there's been a push in the African Union that so that African can negotiate from a position of strength, why don't we allow the AU to represent African states in some of these big dealings? But guess what? When Russia calls Russia-Africa Summit, 17 presidents quietly, others say African Union represent us, 17 say no, I will go and represent myself. So why can't we all be united? Why can't Africans be united? Gaddafi tried to unite Africa and he paid a price for it.
Funds the AU, let's be honest here.
Yeah, the European Union.
There we go.
Yeah.
Right now, even looking at we can't even fund our own thing that was supposed to come out to be a representation of the continent.
Yeah.
Can we really then depend on that same body
That's it.
to represent us if we can't even fund it for ourselves?
So the question becomes, African countries want to be members of the African Union. They don't want to pay the subscription fees. You do not want to pay. You do not want to fund it and make it strong to give it teeth in global politics. How else then are you going to, how else is it going to stand and fight these other big powers? The African Union is funded by a little subscription, the European Union, well-wishers like China, the US, and if they do it, they will dictate your agenda. They will dictate your agenda. So
then when we go to UNGA, when you go to UNGA, like you will in the next couple of days, the agenda set on the table, you're not going to have a say, really, in terms of what's going to be decided.
Yeah, it will be big politics, what we call high politics, military issues, of course, the global wars, climate change, and Africa's voice, of course, like right now, Africa is really clamoring for climate financing. It's talking about we should be given, we should reform the World Bank and IMF and get loans at cheaper interest rates and all that. But, hey, we'll be like, get your act together. It's our money. We are the ones who are contributing the money. Countries like the US contribute between, on average, 15 to 20% of the UN budget. So that country has a lot of power within the UN system. If they withdraw their funding, like Trump had threatened to do some years ago, the UN feels the jitters.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. It's coming up to 9:30. Our guest this morning is Dr. Edgar Githua. He is an international relations, peace and conflict researcher, as well as a security analyst. The United Nations General Assembly presidents are meeting in New York today and tomorrow and this week. How neutrality can lead to economic and humanitarian crises in Africa. We are seeing all these crises and how is the world addressing them? Yeah. Is it addressing them the same way? For example, the world's largest humanitarian crisis right now is right here.
Just north of here.
Exactly,
Sudan. Yeah. Okay, we'll be back.
All right.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
Seal the deal every day with the all-in-one plan from Safaricom. Get data, minutes, and SMS all-in-one on-the-go monthly bundle plan from Safaricom. Tune into the Situation Room every Monday to Friday as we unpack the all-in-one monthly plan from Safaricom. Safaricom is for you. Ready to take your farm to the next level? The Farm Kenya Annual Mkulima Expo in Kitale is the place to be. Circle the dates, 27th and 29th of September at Ndura Grounds. This year's game-changing theme, safe harvesting and storage, bigger profits. Get hands-on with cutting-edge tech, unlock the secrets of safe storage, and dive into farm-to-fork innovations. Rub shoulders with top players from seed companies, mechanization pros, storage experts, and more, all under one roof. Farmers, MSMEs, researchers, investors, this event is tailor-made for you. It's your shot to elevate your farm and maximize your gains. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Be part of the action at the Farm Kenya Expo. Brought to you by Farm Kenya. Powering the future of farming, transforming lives.
The weather with SpiceFM.
All right. Cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning, going to highs of 23 and lows of 13. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 14 in a sunny Nakuru at 19. It's 18 and partly sunny in Nyeri, highs of 24, and 24 will also be the high in a sunny Eldoret at 18. It's 27 and sunny in Mombasa with highs of 30, while Malindi will see highs of 30 and lows of 24. At 25, Kisumu is sunny with highs of 30, and 28 will be the high in a sunny Kakamega. At 22, Kampala is cloudy at 21 with highs of 27, while at 26 it's sunny in Dar es Salaam with highs of 31, and Johannesburg at 10 degrees is partly sunny with highs of 19. It's 28 and cloudy in Mogadishu with highs of 30 and 18, and sunny in Addis Ababa going to highs of 22. It's sunny at 26 in Lagos with highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 33 in a partly sunny Kinshasa. Monday afternoon is sunny at 24 in Beijing and highs of 25, while at 15 it's cloudy in Paris with highs of 19. It's still raining in London at 16 and highs of 17. Partly cloudy conditions still Sunday nights in New York at 17. Coming into Monday, we'll see highs of 20 and lows of 15.
Peppino's Pizza, Kimathi Street. Get this. 2 large pizzas plus a 1.25 liter soda for just 1,500 Kenya shillings, or 2 medium pizzas and a 1.25 liter soda for just 1,200 Kenya shillings. Available every Tuesday and Thursday. Chicken lovers, we got you covered too. Enjoy 2 crispy chicken pieces, chips, and a 350 ml soda for just 500 shillings. Call 0728-261-875 or order online at peppinospizza.co.ke. Join us for mouth-watering treats all month long. Hashtag Peppino's Pizza at 8.
Okay, so we're coming out of traffic hour, but there's still some on the Thika Superhighway. Everywhere else seems to be just, settling into Monday morning. Let's take a look at what's happening on the Eastern Bypass, because that was just a bit messy, some of that still very heavy in and outbound traffic. We're also looking at traffic then coming in from the Thika Superhighway survey then into the city. Also coming into Gong Road, that seems to have reduced some. So we're keeping an eye on things. Let's talk SpiceFM KE on X. Hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Global security, that's what we're discussing with Dr. Edgar Githua, international relations, peace and conflict researcher and security analyst. So the world is talking about all these things and saying, we shall look at how we can all continue singing Kumbaya. Mm-hmm. There's a push for a change, reforms in various sectors, reform in the global financial architecture, reform in the way the UN is meeting at the Security Council, reform that, think about the future. Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General, has asked leaders to come together so he can host the summit of the future, looking at the future and how the world is going to look like. But if all these things are not sorted, this future thing is future in different people's perspectives.
Yeah, I mean, it will be a future where people keep on kicking the ball or kicking the bucket to the next 20, 30 years, not my monkey, not my circus kind of situation. You're right. He's identifying new threats, the use of AI. He's looking at food security and how it threatens. For example, he's looking at how the UN is seemingly looking very, very ineffective because it has not been able to deal with the Russian-Ukraine conflict decisively. It has not been able to deal with the Israeli-Hamas issue. How the Sudan conflict in Africa is now dragging on and created a humanitarian crisis. So many people, 10 million people. I mean, a refugee crisis of epic proportions. So Guterres, I think, he's giving a clarion call out there saying that if you do not feed people. For example, he has identified food insecurity, especially in places like Africa, as one of the biggest challenges, because he's saying if you do not feed people, you are starting conflict. You are brewing conflict. We say in English, a hungry man is an angry man. So when African governments, or when you have food insecurity in Africa, we're talking about revolutions around the corner. If you go back into history, the French Revolution, Russian Revolution, one of the issues other than bad governance was on food prices. You touch food, you touch people's bellies, they're going to go to the streets. So there is a bit of urgency, a clarion call, and urgency. We need to sort out, allow Ukraine to export those grains. With that, Ukraine is a breadbasket of very many parts of the world, Russia included. So we need to sort out that, if not for the sake of war and the lives being lost in Russia, Ukraine, for the rest of the world because of the food insecurity that is occurring and all these things. So I know he has a tough job on his hands. Guterres, remember, when you're the SG of the UN, you're also working there and hoping that these big powers will support you in whatever agenda that you have. So we wish him well. It's not going to be a walk in the park for him.
Yeah, but nobody's singing his tune. Okay, well, people are saying, we shall attend the summit of the future.
Yeah.
But everybody is coming there to see how they can manipulate this whole conversation.
Particular agenda.
In their favor.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? Now, what should the African countries... Is it possible, first of all, in your opinion, for the African countries to actually have one voice? This 54 of us.
Yeah.
When you talk about like food insecurity,
exactly,
it cuts across. When you talk about we are going to be the most populous in the world in coming years, cuts across. We're going to be the youngest.
Yeah.
It's us, all of us as Africans.
It's true.
So why is it not possible for us to go and say, you know what, for the sake of our future and how we want this world to look like, because we are the leaders of the future.
Yeah.
This is how we want to shape it.
Yeah. That's a very good question. Number one, and I say this and I tell students and I say this to audiences where I'm given a chance to say it. Africans are their own worst enemies in this sense. Very brilliant ideas, but poor execution because of lack of political goodwill. Question. Why, for the love of God, after the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russian-Ukraine conflict, when we realize how vulnerable we are to these disruptions and shocks in the food chains, why would someone play around with fertilizer when it's supposed to go to farmers? Are you getting what I'm saying? Yeah. Without going to, that's a discussion for another day. Why would someone in their right mind play around with fertilizer when it's going towards food security? So I have a view that lack of political goodwill in executing or making Africa food secure, I think for me is the biggest problem. Even before we go into our unity and how we'll speak as one voice, individual African countries, I'll take you back to Malawi some years ago, in the 2000s. President Bingu wa Mutharika, he comes up and says, Malawi is not going to beg for food again. And he heavily subsidizes fertilizer and seeds. Of course, he gets castigated and he gets ostracized by global powers. But he did it until Malawi became a net exporter of grains in the South African belt. Malawi, that was now asking for food aid, was now exporting grains. That model, which agriculturalists came to call a green revolution, is something that all countries in Africa can copy-paste, all right? Ignoring our brothers and sisters who live in the Sahara Desert, in that Sahel region, everybody else, sub-Saharan countries, if we all decided we are going to make agriculture a priority in our countries, and not only use it, not only Eric,
not as a buzzword.
Yeah, not as a buzzword.
African leaders have decided.
Yeah.
They've actually sat down and looked at what do we need to do. And they've said, we need to put a lot of our budget into agriculture.
Yeah.
And they sat down. Where was this? Was it Malabo? And they said, let's dedicate, the amount of money that goes into agriculture.
Exactly.
But
the execution.
Okay.
The execution. The political goodwill. In Kenya, for example, we have what that irrigation scheme of ours, Galana Kulalu, 100,000 acres or so. Why can't people get it right? Why can't people just have the political will to get it right?
Well, even the ones that existed before.
Yeah. Exactly.
When I was going to school, we were actually studying very many of these irrigation schemes.
Exactly.
Wire irrigation scheme, Pekera irrigation scheme, I don't know why. Those ones have collapsed.
That's the thing. So my point is, we have found ourselves, COVID-19 pandemic hit everyone, the Russia-Ukraine conflict hit everyone. But then the bigger question becomes, now that we've seen how vulnerable we are, what are African governments doing about just making the continent food secure? Literally sitting down and putting your budget and putting the right people, appointing the right people into those dockets who know what agriculture is and what is required so that they can make a difference. And this is what I'd say. If only 10 countries, if we can have, this is just if we can have Zimbabwe. Remember what happened in Zimbabwe? Uncle Bob.
Yes.
Yeah, he came and nationalized those white farms.
Exactly.
That was a breadbasket, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, and brought in people who didn't know what to do about agriculture. Zimbabwe, we get Zambia, we get Malawi. Kenya can also get into that bandwagon. DRC, South Sudan is one of the most fertile countries on the African continent, but now they are a rentier state. They rely on oil instead of putting money into agriculture. If we can just have 10 African agricultural giants, we can feed the continent. And whether there's a conflict outside there, yes, it will affect us in different ways, but at least we will have food on the table. Why don't African governments do these things? That's one of the biggest questions I ask. And it is that lack of unity on some of these, and the African Union not leading this agenda and actually whipping African countries to do this, that makes and leaves Africa vulnerable to all these negative shocks that we get. Today it's Russia, Ukraine. Tomorrow it's going to be something else. Then we're going to be like, we can't get Brazil. If Brazil has a problem, we get our sugar from there. Yeah. Ndu can't have her tea and coffee with sugar. Yeah. So why are we leaving ourselves vulnerable as a continent to all these global shocks when we have the arable land, we have the requisite human resource and capacity? Because in Kenya, for example, we have very advanced and very educated agricultural economists and you name it. But why aren't we doing the right thing?
I almost hear you saying, as though, Edgar, that the UNGA, the assembly, more often than not, presents an opportunity for African nations or those who live in what I usually don't like calling, but all right, the global south, to revisit the position of power and geopolitics where we currently are. And with the strengths and resources that we have, look at UNGA every year as an opportunity for us to reevaluate the position where we sit at in a global
you're
space.
Right. You're right. But now coming back to Latiff's main, you see this neutrality. Now coming back now to what he was talking about, that neutrality. African states have gotten into a position whereby they don't realize that being neutral and trying to play Mr. Nice Guy will eventually get you into so many other problems. Because when you decide, I will not condemn Russia because of this, because I'm afraid they will not give me grain and give me support. I will not condemn US actions, Israel. I will not condemn Israel. Playing nice in global politics, you end up losing at the end of the day.
Yes.
You end up losing. You need to take a position and stand in your position. So, for example, traditionally, who have been our traditional partners, and I'm not here holding brief for any of them, of the big powers, you try and ask yourself in global politics, if it is not broken, don't fix it. There is that saying that says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
When you start playing geopolitics at a level and at a scale that you're not ready to play at, you get stamped on. So, for example, you'll find certain countries, when there are resolutions to condemn Russia because of its invasion in Ukraine, some African countries decide they are going to abstain. Not because they do not know what moral is the right thing to do, but because they are afraid that Putin will come looking for them, that Putin is going to touch them, or he's going to withdraw aid or whatever it is that he's promised you, without realizing that he does not care. Let me give you an example. Six, 7 African countries, literally led by South Africa, went to Russia to tell the African Peace Initiative, to tell Russia, please stop invading Ukraine. We want to broker peace. Africa wants to broker peace between Russia and Ukraine. Guess what? Putin ignored them. When they were talking to Zelensky in Ukraine, Putin, to drive a point to show them, Africa, I do not care about your voice, he bombed Kyiv when they were there. So I do not care about your voice as Africa. So you can't afford to be neutral on some of these things. Take a stand, take a position, and push, because good guys finish last in international politics. If you go there without a stand, if you think that by appeasing these big powers that they will favor you, they will not get favored. They will do whatever they want to do. It is their interest first. So neutrality, like Latiff was saying, is going to cost us.
But maybe
neutrality
that's a stand.
Help us,
No. You speak as if being neutral is not a stand. That's a stand. That's a stand, Ednah. Look, if you look at these two big powers, it's not just Ukraine and Russia.
Exactly.
It is East-West. It's a whole different conversation.
It's a Cold War revisited, kind of. Yeah.
And there are those that will look at it and say, if I vote with Ukraine, I'm basically supporting NATO and the US.
Yeah.
Do I agree with the position that NATO and the US have taken? So if you haven't agreed with the position that NATO and the US have taken, what do you do? And also at the same time, you don't agree with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. What do? You take your own stand.
Exactly.
Which may be what those African countries did. Our stand is we don't support NATO, US, we don't support Russia. We are going now to say, you guys, we don't support any of you. We want to broker peace. We want you to come back to the table.
And then what do? I hear you and I agree with you, Latiff. I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
That being neutral is also a stand.
Yep.
But then this is what happens. Both East and the West begin to look at you as the enemy. Because
so that's the thing.
Now we are suffering. We end up suffering.
But that's a position you take.
That's the thing.
Are you telling us that we should abandon that position because we are being looked as enemies?
No, I'm not saying that we should abandon, but we need to have, we definitely know, we need to take a stand.
That's a stand.
The stand is being
We don't
neutral.
care whether we are looked at as enemies. We have our own stand.
Because
which does not align
and my
to
argument,
this side or that side.
And then my argument
there are more than two sides to this coin.
And my argument now becomes, by taking that neutral stand, you are left out. Both of them, nobody wants to come to rally to your cause. Nobody thinks you're supporting any of their
But does it have to be?
We stood on principle.
Stood on something.
Yes.
But then I think we can't run away from the unique position that Africa holds because of the resource-rich and the human resource-rich position in which we stand.
Yes, exactly.
And then I think that the reason why we continue to be treated like the orphan little brother somewhere in the corner is because we do not realize, or rather we do not take full possession of the resources that we actually do have. And because of that, that's why we always have to be in a begging position whereby we say, well, you know, I've got to stand with Russia or I've got to stand with the US because then that means I will be included in geopolitics. No. And that's why I do agree that, look, don't take a seat at the table, create your own damn table. And that's why we're saying that today it has to be a place. I mean,
right
that
now,
has got to be something that you do. That's why when you go, and I think if you do that over time, that when you do go to UNGA, somebody's going to be saying, hang on a minute,
the African voice has come.
Yes.
There you go.
I think it was rather unfortunate that it was just a few countries from Africa that took the stand that those ones were taking. It's just a few countries, led by South Africa, for example, that has taken a clear stand on Israel. When it comes to the position of the other African countries on Israel, we are wishy-washy. The other day, Kenya abstained from a vote. The other day, which countries voted with Israel, the other countries voted against Israel. And come another vote. Look,
you see,
if this 54 took a stand and decided, all right, on the matter of Israel, Palestine, Hamas, the neighborhood, Middle East peace,
position.
This is our position. And they rally one another towards it because the other countries rally each other towards our position. Then it's clear.
But do you know why we never get there? Divide and rule.
Because of what you're saying, that we should not take it's not neutrality, it's a third position.
That's that third position. Someone will make sure you never get that third position. Quietly behind the scenes, whipping, a lot of lobbying. We promised you aid. You guys asked us for this. If you want us to support you, and that's how world politics, global politics occurs. It's very unfortunate. And it is quid pro quo. Scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. On this position, when it comes for vote at the UNGA, kindly support my cause. If you don't, that aid that you're looking for. The hole we dug ourselves into. All right? The same people who are supposed to pull us out of that hole tell us terms and conditions apply. If you want aid, support my position on this. On this issue, when it comes for voting, can I hear your voice? On some others, you're even advised and told, kindly abstain. Appear neutral. Because we know there's something you've been looking for. Russia has promised you some few ships of grain. Because we don't want you to lose it, but we also need you on this other side, you abstain on this one.
So you can't beg and have a voice.
That's the whole point. You can't have your cake and eat it in global politics. You're not at that level to have your cake and eat it. That's why sometimes being neutral, you'd rather die on one side, all right? And at least those ones pray to God that they will come to your aid on some things. But this neutrality, in my view, is making some people even get you're trampled on more.
Edgar, let's look at some of the things that preclude one from being at that level where you don't have to beg. And this is at the international level now. What are some of the things that these nations have in common whereby they can actually cough and the rest of the world gets, the flu? Or, sniffle and the rest of the world gets the flu? And we're looking at there's a number, there's a G87, whatever number they want to call it tomorrow. But what are some of the things that they have done? They've achieved economic success. They've achieved economic independence. Whereby this thing you're talking about, feed your people, is not a problem. They're not worrying about feeding their people.
Exactly.
That's not an issue for them. They're not worrying about their economies and what kind of money they command. I mean, it's huge stuff that we're talking about. And those seem to me to be some of the two things that will preclude anybody else from having a seat at that table.
Exactly.
Right? So one would say, if you want to be in a position whereby you have a voice, you must have one or two of those things.
Military strength, economic strength,
independence, and
exactly,
strength.
those two.
Right.
If you're not a mover and shaker in the global economics, who are you?
So are we saying that it's about time then that nations started to strive for those things? If you strive for those things, that puts you at the top of the table in this world game.
Exactly. We are what? What is Africa? We've been told this by economists. We are more of a consuming kind of economy. We don't manufacture.
Yeah.
What do we manufacture as Africa?
People.
Where we have, good human resource. And even then, there's another term for it. It's called brain drain. Even it's our capacity, but whose economy is it building?
Yeah.
It's a brain drain. It's going to build the West. So in my view, you want to have a seat at the table. Where is your military power? Where is your economic power? Who are you? What do you have to offer? I mean, when the US speaks, when China coughs, the whole world catches a cold. Literally, no pun intended. Okay, because of who they are, their size, their GDP, the military strength, their global influence and reach. When Kenya coughs, who listens? Who are you? That is the question. In international relations, that is the question. Who are you in the global hierarchy of power? And that determines your voice and where you stand. So, going back to what you were talking about, the solutions, if African countries can now start leveraging on saying, as a continent, we have 1.3 billion people. We are rich in resources. Why can't we leverage our resource? The fact that as Africa has 1.3 billion, that is a market that these big countries need to sell their goods. And then we rally behind and speak in one voice. But when we have these differences between the Anglophone and Francophone countries, I want you people to watch the vote that's going to come up for the AU chairmanship. And remember, it's that whoever eventually becomes the chairperson of that AU commission is speaking for Africa, is doing this for the benefit of Africa. But I want you to watch it's called what? The Night of Long Knives, and what is going to happen around that.
But the line's already drawn. We already see the lines drawn.
Exactly, they're already drawn.
Yeah.
Instead of now approaching this thing and saying, look here, whoever takes it, it's a win for all of Africa. But now it's become a win and death, a life and death issue. Okay, and global powers are going to interfere with this as well, because now for them, whoever takes it is also a big thing. Why can't Africa speak with one voice? That's a question we ask.
Because even the ones that we have as sovereign states, we want to eat it. People are stealing from each other. I mean, seriously speaking, all governance is all kind of upside down. How do you go as a united front, even when in your backyard there are certain things? And that's why I asked the question about what precludes African nations, what precludes the majority of us from getting to the point whereby we're actually having a conversation at that level.
Yeah.
But if you can't get your backyard in order,
there you go.
How are you? What are you?
And at the risk of sounding like I'm inciting some certain quarters of the world, when some African presidents believe their countries are their personal property or their domains, their small fiefdoms, kingdoms, they are small little dynasties. When democracy, let's not even go down that road. I think Eric will just blow up. We'll just piss him off.
I'm just thinking, even if you look at Europe, there are those countries that are the influencers in Europe. Right? America is the influencer in North America. There are countries that are influencers in the South America, in the Brazil. In Africa, who are the influencers, and do they speak the same language? If you look at the economic powerhouses in Africa, so Nigeria, South Africa,
Kenya.
Do they speak the same language?
You see now,
because if the big brothers are not saying the same thing, then who's going to follow them?
Exactly. And there are also those regional hegemons, as we call them, are also under siege. Nigeria is the big powerhouse in West Africa, the largest in ECOWAS, ECOMOG. But now look at what has happened in the Sahel. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger have gone and created their own small thing. And they are, literally showing Nigeria you're not as influential as you think you are in this region. So that kind of diminishes Nigeria's voice in global politics. If you can't get your own region in order, who are you to speak to us? South Africa has its own issues with, we go to Kenya, we are under siege. Rwanda wants our position. Tanzania is there.
Probably because we are, again, speaking as individual countries.
Exactly.
Can you imagine if South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, and some countries in the Sahel spoke one language? And took this position of leading from the front when it comes to Africa affairs.
Exactly.
Then maybe it also gives you strength back home.
It's true.
You're the big boy in Africa. So whether the small guy there in Niger who's trying to misbehave, it's okay. You misbehave. Eventually, you'll come back here.
If regional powers could, number one, close ranks, Egypt, Algeria, Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria set the agenda for Africa, all right? And everybody else falls into place. Probably would get there. But the problem is, like I told you, divide and rule.
We don't operate on principle, do we really? I remember watching a documentary on the Rothschilds empire and how they really made their money.
In banking.
And some people will say there was some fraud inside there and things that happened. But there was a principle that they never swayed away from.
Exactly.
So that meant that when Rothschild himself died and his son took over and then the son died, the cousin was able to take over an uncle here because it was based on a principle of success that they knew this is what we are going to have to do, come rain, come sunshine. And that, I think, is what allows you to say that South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Egypt, whatever, okay, maybe Egypt, okay, but to come together and say, look, it is on principle that we've understood this fundamental thing whereby we know that there's something that we have in common. How about we take that commonality, fight for ourselves, one, insist that in our backyards we're up to scratch. There's no way we cannot go forward without that. But
Definitely.
It's the principle. And if we are not consuming that principle, practicing it, living it out, we have a very, very, very long way to go. Where do we push for such things?
And two, the next question now, the spanner in the works. Will global powers allow us to get our houses in order? That's the other debate. Because now, obviously, everybody sees if these 1.3 billion people speak in one voice, we have problems. Exactly. You get what I'm saying? They'll deny us the gold. They'll deny us oil, access to their markets, raw materials, the resources in DRC Congo. So is it in someone's interest to make sure that that unity never really occurs? Gaddafi's dream of a United States of Africa. Who else can pick up that mantra and go champion it?
Who's willing to die?
Who's willing to be killed?
Yeah, who's willing to take the bullet for us? Okay, there you go. So we have all these things, and but we shouldn't give up. We don't give up. I think a generation is coming. The Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas, and Gen Omegas, if there'll be a Gen Omega somewhere, they will definitely get that act together, and probably Africa will speak in one voice. But that's a conversation we need to start, and we need to start having. Who will unite us when we will learn to speak in one voice and not get taken advantage of and not get exposed to? One. Two, all these nice plans that we have of building and creating good agriculture and becoming food secure. Why don't our African presidents and our African leaders, why don't they just stick to the blueprint and do it? They know what needs to be done.
Boils down to the people. That question, don't ask why don't our leaders, why don't our people?
I get you.
If our people wanted it, our leaders would have no option but to
definitely.
Do it. Thank you, Doctor, for coming here. Dr. Edgar Lydiah is an international relations, peace and conflict researcher. He's been here. We'll be talking about how neutrality can lead to economic and humanitarian crises in Africa. Thank you for tuning in. Have a lovely day. We'll see you again tomorrow. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life